Chapter 1081. 1,010,000 astral coins. Just when Xiaochen thought that no one would compete with him, someone in booth 65 raised the bid by 10,000 astral coins. Xiaochen followed up, raising the bid by 100,000 astral coins. Booth 70 raises the bid by 100,000 astral coins. 1,500,000 astral coins. The person in booth 60 paused for a moment, apparently not expecting anyone to compete with him. When he saw the bid, he immediately called out 1,500,000 astral coins, trying to scare off Xiaochen. After activating the bidding device, Xiaochen called out calmly, 2 million astral coins. This increase in bid caught the yellow-clad old man somewhat off guard. Unexpectedly, there was such an intense bid for the azure underworld fruit that no one cared about. 2,500,000 astral coins. A furious bid came from booth 65. After a pause he continued, I am the young manor lord of the Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor, Shifeng. Friend on the other side, will you give me some face? The Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor will definitely remember this favor. 3 million astral coins. Ao Jiao rarely asked Xiaochen for help. As far as Xiaochen could remember, there had never been such a thing. It was rare for Ao Jiao to have something that caught her eye. No matter what Xiaochen said, he would not let it go. Rage flashed on the face of the yellow-clad old man on the auction platform. He said sullenly, Young Master Shi, after this auction, there is no need for you to come to Cloud Treasure City. Cloud Treasure City does not welcome you. If you still want to use your identity to ruin this auction, don't blame the Treasure Master's residence for not giving you face and sending you out. The people of the Treasure Master's residence were extraordinarily strong. The yellow-clad old man's reaction surpassed Xiaochen's expectations. Haha. Senior must be joking. This sure just wants to make a friend. How could I ruin the auction for no reason? I will let this friend have this azure underworld fruit first. Bang. After Shifeng spoke in booth 65, his face sank. Then he punched the table, shattering the exquisite mahogany table. Senior Jiang, I'm really sorry to disappoint you this time. Haha. Little friend sure is too serious. This old man's main target this time is the divine grade black patterned gold. The azure underworld fruit is just incidental. Shifeng said in a deep voice. No, I said that I would help Senior Jiang. I will definitely get this azure underworld fruit. Old Yang, help me keep an eye on booth 70. I want to see who is so bold as to not give our Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor any face. A thick killing intent flashed in Shifeng's eyes as he spoke to an old man. Old man Yang accepted the order and left the private room without a sound. In booth 70, after Xiaochen paid the bill and successfully obtained the green underworld fruit that Ao Jiao wanted, a faint smile appeared on his face. Ziying wanted to say something but stopped herself. She wanted to say something but didn't know what to say. Xiaochen put away the azure underworld fruit, glanced at her, and said with a smile, Miss Ziying, what do you want to say? Feel free to say it. You're in trouble. Xiaochen asked. What disaster? The Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor? Naturally. Among the many factions of the Northern Sea Alliance, the Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor can rank within the top 10. In recent years, the Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor has risen abnormally fast. Many people say that they will push down the Yi clan for the next alliance chief position. Although you cannot make a move here, the other party is intent on keeping an eye on you. Once you leave the city lord's residence, it will be somewhat problematic. Xiaochen nodded in agreement. Then he said seriously, yes, it will indeed be somewhat problematic. Seeing Xiaochen's indifferent expression, Ziying felt somewhat helpless. Suddenly she reacted and said, Are you messing with me? You know the Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor's background. Oh, she really hit the mark. Xiaochen does know. Since Xiaochen had thought of using Yi Chen to establish a connection to the Northern Sea Alliance, he had done his homework. He was rather clear about the Northern Sea Alliance's internal affairs. Seeing Xiaochen tacitly agree, Ziying clenched her teeth. She hated this fellow to death. However, she could not do anything to him. She could not bear to part with that big deal. Xiaochen smiled and said, I came to the Northern Sea this time to visit the Yi clan. If the two clans fight, I will definitely help the Yi clan. Sooner or later, I will run into this group of people. Ziying said, feeling wronged. You sure are carefree. However, I am the one suffering. Doing business requires one to be smooth and slick, traveling everywhere and currying favor everywhere. However, this requires extremely high skill. Given your current experience, mental state, and age, you cannot do that. You will only run into walls everywhere, not gaining any benefits. Now that you know your weaknesses, you should make a choice as soon as possible. Choose between the Yi clan and the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor. Then support them fully. When Ziying heard this, she felt stunned. Xiao Chen's calm and indifferent gaze seemed to see through everything. These words were like a wake-up call, enlightening her and rendering her speechless for a long time. Wait a minute. Ziying reacted. I was clearly the one who wanted to teach him a lesson. How did it turn out to be him teaching me what to do? Ziying wanted to say something but discovered that Xiao Chen was already staring at the light screen. The auction for the divine grade black pattern gold had already started. The bidding was extremely intense. Soon, the starting bid rose from 1 million to 3 million. Just as Ziying was about to say something, she discovered that Xiao Chen was already staring at the light screen. The auction for the divine grade black pattern gold had already started. The bidding was extremely intense. Soon, the starting bid rose from 1 million to 3 million. Ziying calmed herself down and analyzed. 5 million is a dividing line. It is already twice the market price. Spending an extra cent would be a huge loss. Only 2 or 3 people remained bidding. Among them, Shifeng number 65, was the most unyielding. He did not hesitate to raise the bid every time, raising it to 500,000 every time. He was extremely wealthy, acting like he could crush the other party no matter how much money he had. The yellow-clad old man looked around and said calmly, Number 65 bids 7 million. Is there anyone willing to raise the price higher? Number 65 bids 7 million. Is there anyone willing to raise the price higher? The yellow-clad old man said calmly as he looked around. 7 million was already more than 3 times the market price. It was simply not worth it to buy more. The intense bidding finally calmed down. The sky-high price of 7 million forced back many potential buyers. 10 million. Xiao Chen activated the bidding device and calmly called out a number, shocking the entire place. Inside the private room, Xiao Chen was currently chatting happily with that mysterious senior Jiang. Shifeng, who was waiting to receive the goods, received a heavy blow, causing him to spit out a mouthful of tea. Damn. Is there no end to this? The sky-high price of 10 million black astral coins shocked the entire place. Shifeng, who had always been overbearing, no longer made a sound. Xiao Chen successfully won the bid for the divine grade black pattern gold. When the maidservant brought the treasure over, he happily paid the bill. Ziying was flabbergasted. Using 5 times the market price to obtain the divine grade black patterned gold. Xiao Chen's boldness was truly admirable. Including the price of the other divine materials, Xiao Chen still had to pay another 20 million black astral coins. That was to forge 2 dragon-seeking secret treasures. Xiao Chen spent a total of 30 million black astral coins. Not counting the ordinary Emperor Wu's treasures, he could only take out so much black astral coins. Is it worth it? Using such a high price to obtain the divine grade black pattern gold is worth half the price of the other 99 divine materials. The divine grade black patterned gold flickered with a dreamy, 9-colored light. Xiao Chen was mesmerized by it. He said softly, If you knew how important these 2 secret treasures are to me, you would not ask this. Are you really a geomaster? You should not ask what you should not ask. Xiao Chen did not answer. He put away the black pattern gold and headed for the door. Don't be so petty. Ziying smiled faintly and quickly chased after him. Are you really a geomaster for dragon seeking and vein fixing? Just tell me. Ignoring Ziying, Xiao Chen went out. The dazzling walkway looked empty. After casually looking around, Xiao Chen headed back the way he came. After Xiao Chen went far away, a figure slowly appeared at a corner of the wall. It was Old Yang, who had been waiting here on Shifeng's orders. As Old Yang stared in the direction Xiao Chen left, he entered deep thought. He muttered, So it is him, the Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen. No wonder he was so tyrannical. not even giving face to the young manor lord. This will be difficult to deal with. Shaking his head, Old Yang did not think too much. With a few flashes, he returned to booth 65 and reported everything that he saw. Is the Blue Dragon King very incredible? When Shifeng heard what Old Yang said, he felt a fire burn in him for no reason. Then he snorted heavily. Right now, everyone knows that he will die young, becoming a meteor. He is just a piece of trash. To think that he dares to compete with me. He is simply reckless. If I do not teach him a lesson, he will think that he is someone important. The mysterious, black-robed old man with the family name Jiang put down his teacup and said softly, "Let's just forget about this matter. No matter how dazzling a genius with no future shines, it is useless. However, I do not wish to offend the Thunder King behind him." Seeing Shifeng open his mouth, the old man with the family name Jiang interrupted. "Young Master Shi, don't worry. I will continue with what I promised you. It is hard for me to reject the Manor Lord's sincerity." Shifeng was young and full of vigor. In the Northern Sea, he had never felt so stifled before. He got slapped in the face at the auction. If word of this spread, he would become a big joke. "Senior Jiang, I will bear all the consequences of this. I don't believe that the Thunder King can do anything to me after dealing with a genius with no future." A vicious look flashed in Shifeng's eyes as his voice turned bone-chilling. Shifeng's words were filled with confidence. He felt that Xiaochun was already past his prime. If he touched Xiaochun, there would not be any major consequences. However, Shifeng did not consider whether he had enough people to deal with the Bushan Palace's Thunder King. In Shifeng's opinion, Xiaochun was just a blue-robed emperor who had not even reached small perfection. Shifeng did not care about the rules of the world. How could Shifeng give Shifeng any chance to turn things around when he outnumbered Shifeng? He could do whatever he wanted. As long as Shifeng did not die, the Thunder King and the Bushan Palace would not be able to do anything to him. "Let's go. I'll go and see what kind of person this Blue Dragon King is." Right after Shifeng spoke, he led the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor's group away, quickly giving chase. Soon, only the mysterious Mr. Jiang remained in the booth, sipping tea alone. Mr. Jiang slowly put down the teacup, and some doubt flashed in his eyes. Why did this Blue Dragon King spend so many black astral coins to bid for the divine grade black patterned gold for no reason? According to the rumors, this Xiaochun was not a sucker. Could it be that he did not live up to his reputation? Whether Xiaochun lived up to his reputation or not, it would be clear from the outcome of Shifeng's group. Chapter 1082. Xiaochun smoothly walked out of the treasure master's residence without any danger or commotion. This allowed Ziying, who was following behind, to heave a sigh of relief. After all, this was Cloud Treasure City. No matter how arrogant the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor's people were, they would not dare to make a move here openly. However, before Xiaochun could reveal a smile, he saw a group of unwelcome guests not far away from the treasure master's residence. The surroundings were quiet. Clearly, the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor's cultivators had already notified the people nearby and sent them away. Shifeng had a casual expression as he led the three small perfection blue-robed emperor old men. Then he said to Xiaochun in an unperturbed manner, "Blue Dragon King Xiaochun, are you surprised? As I said, I only handed the Azure Underworld fruit to you for safekeeping. Do you think that by leaving the auction hall early, you can just walk away?" Dong, dong, dong. Urgent footsteps resounded in the surroundings. Several cultivators wearing the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor's uniform appeared on the walls and roofs. These people were all martial sages. They held crossbows and all sorts of ancient demonic energy cannons, as they surrounded Xiaochun with surging killing qi. Ziying's expression changed slightly, feeling extremely surprised. She had not expected the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor's hidden faction to be so strong. Her voice quivered somewhat as she said, "Shifeng, are you crazy? To think that you dare to make a move in Cloud Treasure City. Are you really not afraid of offending the treasure master?" Shifeng smiled and said, "Everyone has their value. I believe that the treasure master will make the right choice between the second strongest faction of the Northern Sea Alliance and a has-been genius. You too. If the Nine Cauldron Merchant Association still wants to do business in the Northern Sea, Then shut up now. Ziying was exasperated. Now she finally understood what Xiaochen meant. It was simply too difficult for her to be smooth and smooth, currying favor with everyone. Beat him up. Beat him up ruthlessly. Let him know what pain is. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you are the Blue Dragon King. Shifeng felt angry in his heart. When he thought about the scene at the auction hall, his rage flared. He had revealed his identity, but the other party did not give him any face at all, embarrassing him in front of the many honored guests. Like a fool, he couldn't swallow this anger no matter what. At this moment, he couldn't hold it in any longer. He couldn't be bothered to say any more nonsense. He just wanted to vent his anger, or else he wouldn't be able to calm down. Whoosh! Behind him, the three blue-robed emperors did not say a word. They did not dare to be careless when facing Xiaochen. They attacked at the same time, using their best killing moves. Obviously, he wanted to heavily injure Xiaochen in an instant with the force of a thunderbolt, so as to avoid any new problems from arising. The person in the middle displayed a sword move. His body became one with the heavens, and a sword flew over, piercing through the void. Strange phenomena appeared, and its might was unparalleled. Of the two old men on the left and right, one was wielding a staff while the other was wielding a spear. Their imposing manner was not inferior to the old man in the middle at all. When the three of them attacked together, the color of heaven and earth changed at this moment. The curtain of night trembled, and was on the verge of collapsing. It could be said to be extremely terrifying. Xiaochen gently pushed Ziying, and an irresistible force pushed Ziying back a kilometer in that instant. Now that there was nothing holding him back, Xiaochen made his move calmly. First, a sword appeared in his hand. 9 flashes with 1 step, 9 strikes with 1 flash. As plum blossoms fell, Xiaochen stepped on the plum blossoms and took 9 steps, sending out 81 sword strikes. When Ziying, who was in the distance, saw this scene, she was shocked. This profound martial technique was clearly the changing plum blossom sword. One of the 9 jade strips that Xiaochen sold her was the changing plum blossom sword. Ziying guessed that Xiaochen definitely had a copy of the profound martial technique that he sold her. However, she could not have imagined that Xiaochen, a bladesman, could actually execute this sword technique so well. His mind and soul were present, and there was no awkwardness at all. The 81 sword strikes followed the mysteries of the changing plum blossom sword, breaking down the killing move of the old man in the middle. Then Xiaochen kicked the old man away. That was not all. The sword in Xiaochen's hand disappeared, replaced by a wooden staff. He grasped the staff with his right hand and spun it around 3 times. The howling wind gave off a thunderous tremor in the air. Then, he took advantage of the momentum to withdraw. The wind and lightning suddenly stopped and hid themselves, clashing forcefully with the old man using the staff. Bang! The old man's staff shattered. The wind and lightning exploded, blasting the old man back, and causing him to vomit blood. The wind thunder staff was another one of the 9 profound martial techniques. Ziying gaped, not knowing what to say. After sending the old man flying with 1 staff strike, the weapon in Xiaochen's hand changed again, turning into a spear. In the time it took for a spark to fly, he turned around and thrust his hand back. Purple lightning-attributed flames spread out on the spear. When Xiaochen turned around, his spear contained great might, seeming to pierce through space. When Xiaochen turned around and struck the spear in the last old man's hand, the spear shattered from top to bottom. Flames spread out and surged over the sky, burning endlessly. It was like the sky was on fire at this moment. The blazing flames burned endlessly on the horizon, illuminating the night sky and making it look very bright. Furthermore, it was one of the 9 profound martial techniques, heaven-burning spear. Ziying was already completely stunned, speechless. The Xiaochen before her completely surpassed her imagination. In an instant, he defeated 3 small perfection blue-robed emperors. Furthermore, he used the weapons that they were most proficient with. Aside from the Blue Dragon King Xiaochen, Ziying simply could not think of anyone else who could do this. After landing, Xiaochen held the spear flickering with lightning-attributed flames and ferociously tossed it forward. The spear was like lightning tearing through the dark night. This startled Shifeng, who quickly dodged. The spear tip stabbed into the ground, and the spear hummed endlessly. Shock waves radiated out in all directions. Shifeng, who was retreating, could not dodge in time and was struck by the shock waves, causing him to vomit a mouthful of blood. In the treasure master's residence in the distance, the Cloud Treasure City's city lord stood on a tall building. When he saw all this, he muttered to himself with some pity, "If I could really advance to martial emperor in 5 years, I would definitely favor you." The meaning behind the scene was that the city lord's current choice favored the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor's young manor master. Without the city lord's tacit approval, no matter how capable the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor was, how could they have mobilized so many people under his nose? The city lord waved his hand, and the people hidden in the shadows received his order and withdrew. At the place where Xiao Chun and the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor fought, many black-clad men descended from the sky and surrounded the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor's people. The city lord has ordered that private fights are not allowed in Cloud Treasure City. If anyone dares to make a move again, they will be killed without mercy. Someone in the air said coldly. They really appeared at the right time. Xiao Chun smiled mockingly in his heart. Since the city lord's residence was so strong, why did Shifeng appear to surround him? Yet, after Xiao Chun gained the upper hand, he immediately appeared. On the surface, he did not help either side, but in reality, he favored the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor's side. Let's go. Shifeng wiped away the blood at the corner of his lips and glared hatefully at Xiao Chun. Then, he quickly led the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor's people away. When Shifeng looked at Xiao Chun, he no longer had the initial arrogance. There was only heavy fear. The 3 small perfection blue-robed emperors instantly lost to Xiao Chun. Furthermore, Xiao Chun had used the weapons that the blue-robed emperors specialized in. In terms of strength, Shifeng knew that even if there were 100 of him, he would not be a match for Xiao Chun. After the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor's people left, the guards of the treasure master's residence also retreated like the receding tide, as if they had never been there. The merchants and cultivators that the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor had cleared out earlier also appeared out of nowhere. The desolate path slowly became bustling. Ziying floated over and thanked Xiao Chun. "Many thanks for making a move earlier." Xiao Chun said calmly, "Let's go. It's just a small matter. I would like to ask you, did you learn all the 9 profound martial techniques that you sold me? Strictly speaking, I can't be considered to have learned them. I can barely execute them. I am still far from reaching great perfection and mastering them through a comprehensive study, not to mention comprehending the states and mysteries." Naturally, Ziying was not satisfied with this answer. Her lips curled up as she said, "You are really humble. I have been used by others with spears, staffs, and swords all my life. I am not even comparable to a layman like you. What more do you want?" Xiao Chun smiled and did not say anything more. It was not that he was being humble. The main reason Xiao Chun could defeat the 3 small perfection blue-robed emperors was that his heavenly laws far surpassed theirs. In terms of moves, they were about the same. Xiao Chun mainly wanted to test his moves on the 3. It looked like the results were pretty good. "Senior Jiang, I'm really sorry. I failed. I cannot help Senior obtain the divine grade black pattern gold and the azure underworld fruit." Shifeng led the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor's group to meet up with the mysterious old man with the family name Jiang. Then he performed a cupped fist salute and apologized. The old man with the family name Jiang remained expressionless, not showing any fluctuations in his expression. He said indifferently, "It's fine. I'll think of something myself. I did not decide to help the Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor because of these 2 items." Shifeng was unruly. However, from start to end, he was very polite to this old man. His attitude was much more respectful than that of the few small perfection quasi-emperors of his clan. "I understand. Senior rejected the Yi clan's invitation and came to my Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor. It is a great blessing. However, I did not expect something to go wrong with the gift that I originally intended to give to Senior." Shifeng took out a spatial ring apologetically and handed it over. "There are 5 million black astral coins here. I hope that Senior will accept it." The old man with the family name Jiang glanced at the spatial ring and said, "Your father and I can be considered old friends. Little friend, there is no need to be so polite. Let's go." It's time to meet your father. He still has not told me what kind of dragon cave this is. Are we not going to care about that blue dragon king? I was even preparing to find someone to block him after he leaves the city, Shifeng said. The old man with the family name Jiang waved his hand and said, "There's no need. If there are no surprises, his destination in the Northern Sea is the Yi clan. You will still have a chance to meet him at that time." The old man with the family name Jiang still had something to say. At that time, he should be able to find out what exactly Xiaochen was going to refine with the divine grade black patterned gold. 3 days later, Ziying gathered all the divine materials that Xiaochen needed as promised. Then, Xiaochen sought out a quiet room from Ziying and started to refine the dragon subduing platform and the dragon revealing mirror. In order to succeed on the first try, Xiaochen took out the Paradise Secret Cannon and carefully read the second segment of the ingenious workmanship several times. After that, he used some ordinary materials to experiment and gain experience. Only when Xiaochen tried it out did he discover that the refinement of the dragon subduing platform was even more complicated than he had imagined. The scale of the project exceeded his expectations. First was the platform. This was the most basic. The platform needed a dragon head guillotine, the dragon summoning bell, the heavenly fire dragon capturing hand, and so on. Chapter 1083. It was not a single secret treasure but a complete set of secret treasures. Every part was incredibly troublesome to refine. It gave the feeling that one would never succeed in refining it in their lifetime. Feeling suspicious, Xiaochen searched through the first part of the jade strip, which introduced the Yuan clan. Only then did he discover that the dragon subduing platform was the Yuan clan's final trump card for suppressing strong dragon veins. The trump card of trump cards. The dragon subduing platforms that the successors of the previous generations had all spent at least 10 years of effort to refine. The Yuan clan's clan protecting treasure, the dragon subduing platform, took their ancestor 1,000 years to refine, reaching emperor grade. Without reaching a certain cultivation, one could not control this emperor grade dragon subduing platform. Hence, the great heavenly masters would refine their own set of dragon-seeking secret treasures before they were strong enough. Xiaochen felt incredibly envious. If he could find the Yuan clan's ancestral mansion, he would be rich. In the future, if he could get that corpse from Batu, he might be able to find some clues. Xiaochen set aside the refinement of the dragon subduing platform for now, and focused on refining the dragon revealing mirror. The dragon revealing mirror was an ancient mirror. It required 100 types of divine materials, and 49 profound formations were carved into it. The difficulty was worlds apart from refining the dragon subduing platform. Xiaochen spent half a month to complete the refinement. The disc-sized ancient mirror was surrounded by a circle of ancient patterns, and its back was engraved with many mysterious array patterns. The front was a mirror as smooth as water. Xiaochen spent most of the half a month on this mirror. The dragon-seeking secret treasures were useless in battle. However, they had a strong suppressive effect on the great dragons and evil dragons formed by spirit veins. Before subduing several holy spirit veins, their ferocious auras carried the power of the world. Even Emperor Wu did not dare to be careless. As for King Spirit veins, that went without saying. Regular Emperor Wu would not be able to subdue them. With this dragon-revealing mirror and the various secret techniques in the Paradise Secret Cannon, in addition to Xiaochen's own strength, subduing peak spirit veins would be a piece of cake. Suppressing a holy spirit vein by himself would not be a problem, even if he expended some effort. Of course, the prerequisite for all of this was that they could find the dragon vein. Otherwise, there would be no stage for them to display their abilities. After putting away the dragon-revealing mirror, Xiaochen went to look for Ziying and took his leave. "Young Master Xiao, do you mind having one more person on this trip?" Ziying asked with a smile. Xiaochen looked up and asked, "You want to go?" I think you're right. With my age, experience, and state of mind, I'm still far from being able to socialize with everyone. Why don't we just stand in line and do something great in the Northern Sea region?" When Xiaochen saw Xiaochen's serious expression, he could not help smiling. He said softly, "I was just saying it casually. Never mind, let's just follow them." I just want to make it clear that I'll leave after meeting my friend. I won't be staying for long. However, he Xiao Xiao, Xiao. However, the other party did not even give her a chance to vent her anger. He had already turned around and walked far away. Ziying hurriedly followed after him. With Ziying following him, Xiao Chen, who had originally planned to test the power of the dragon-revealing mirror, had to give up. However, Xiao Chen did not forget his homework. He did not stop cultivating the Paradise Secret Cannon. About half a month later, the two arrived at the island where the North Sea Alliance's headquarters was located, Soaring Cloud Island. Xiao Chen stood at the bow of the warship and looked at the silhouette of Lingyun Island. He wondered if he could meet Yi Chun. Cultivators usually did not have a fixed place to stay and wandered around. This was especially so for a martial fanatic like Yi Chun. It was hard to say. What is it? What are you thinking about? Ziying came out from the cabin and asked with a smile. Xiao Chen told her the truth. Ziying could not help but smile and say, "Don't worry. He will definitely be there." "How can you be so sure?" Ziying said softly. "The massacre bladesman Yi Chun is rather famous in the Northern Sea. About half a year ago, he returned from the Kunlun continent. His strength had increased greatly, and he immediately challenged the life-killing swordsman, Yin Shisan." "There's such a thing? What happened in the end?" "He lost by half a move. After that, I heard that he has been in closed-door cultivation at home, and has not come out much. Losing to Yin Shisan was not an injustice. Yi Chun was in too much of a rush. The top swordsman of the Kunlun continent was no joke." "Right, in that case, I'll use this as a return gift." Xiao Chen thought of a gift. While discussing the Tao over tea in the profound domain's heavenly cauldron city, Xiao Chen had opened his mouth to speak, and many ancient sages had appeared. He had memorized the ancient saber Tao. Among them, there was a detailed explanation of the massacre saber Tao. Yi Chun would probably like it. There was only one vast and majestic city on the island called Soaring Cloud City. It served as the central hub, connecting the hundreds of factions of various sizes in the Northern Sea Alliance. Now the Yi clan managed the city. If one wanted to find Yi Chun, one just had to go to the city lord's residence. When Xiao Chen reported his identity, the city lord's residence's guard's expression changed. He became much more polite and respectful as he quickly ran in to report. Not long after, a youth dressed in luxurious embroidered clothes appeared before Xiao Chen. This youth looked very similar to Yi Chun, but he was more mature. He led two old men over to Xiao Chen. "Young Master Xiao, you are finally here. My little brother has been talking about you for a long time." The youth smiled faintly and performed a cupped fist salute. "I forgot to introduce myself. I am Yifeng, Yi Chen's big brother." As Yifeng spoke, he invited Xiao Chen and Ziying in. His attitude was very polite, not showing any of the arrogance of a large clan's disciple. He gave off a good impression at first glance. "Haha, I already sent someone to inform my little brother. That brat has been cultivating to the point of going crazy. Recently, the inheritors of the Holy Lands have been heading to the heart of the ocean to bury emperors. They have gained a lot, making him anxious." Ziying, who was at the side, said, "I heard that these Holy Land inheritors all obtained the opportunity to become a blue-robed emperor. Once they become a blue-robed emperor, with the resources of the Holy Land, they can immediately push them to small perfection blue-robed emperor. After that, it will be smooth sailing for them to become a great perfection blue-robed emperor. At that time, the gap between them will widen." Yifeng nodded and said, "Yes. 1 year from now, it will be the Four Seas Hero Gathering. Second brother has no choice but to work hard. The resources of our Northern Sea Alliance are no weaker than those of the Holy Lands. However, if he cannot find the opportunity to become a blue-robed emperor, everything will be for naught. One needed an opportunity to become a blue-robed emperor. One needed to rely on one's own comprehension. No amount of resources would be enough. However, it was different for a blue-robed emperor. A small perfection blue-robed emperor and a great perfection blue-robed emperor competed in resources. Xiao Chen was very clear on this principle. However, he did not seek the Haotian Emperor or the Thunder King for resources, because the requirements were too great. No holy land could bear the cost of nurturing two geniuses. The Haotian sect had its first senior sister, Shui Lingling, who needed to be nurtured as the sect master. The Thunder and Lightning Palace also had an Juanxi, who needed to be nurtured as a successor. Only now did Yi Feng notice Ziying, who was at the side. His eyes lit up as he said, "This young lady seems to have not been introduced yet." Ziying smiled and said, "Ziying, the manager of the Nine Cauldron Merchant Association's Northern Sea." "So it is the beautiful manager of the Nine Cauldron Merchant Association's Xian Lai. Haha. I heard about you and was planning to make some time to pay you a visit. Unexpectedly, we met in advance today." Yi Feng smiled faintly. His words were appropriate and flawless. The two chatted happily. It was clear that this Yi Feng was different from Yi Chen. He managed the Yi clan's internal affairs in the Northern Sea Alliance, wielding real authority. As for Yi Chen, he was a pure cultivation fanatic and did not care about such things. Boom. Just at this moment, an extremely horrifying saber-chi of massacre suddenly appeared in the air. It tore through the sky, wanting to destroy all life and slaughter everything. Before the saber arrived, its aura already gained the upper hand. Xiaochen frowned slightly. It was already too late to draw his saber. With a flip of his hand, he sent out a palm strike. Surging heavenly laws drove the power of the world as he counterattacked. Bang! A huge force scattered the killing chi. The person who attacked revealed himself. It was Yi Chen, whom Xiaochen had not seen for more than half a year. "I am ashamed. It has been a long time since we met. Now, I can only see Brother Zhao's back. I can't even receive a palm strike from you." Yi Chen stepped forward amid carefree laughter and patted Xiaochen's shoulder. "I heard that you came to the heavenly starry ocean long ago. Why are you only here now? Big brother, go and prepare a banquet. I have to properly entertain this brother." Yi Feng smiled and said, "Why would I need you to tell me about such a small matter? I already sent someone to prepare it. There will be a banquet tonight." Xiaochen quickly rejected. "There is no need to be so polite. I like peace and quiet. I just want to find a place to drink and chat." Clearly, Yi Chen was not a person who bothered with trifles. He waved his hand and said, "In that case, listen to my brother. Come, let's find a pavilion and have a few drinks." Yi Feng felt that something was wrong. Now that the Blue Dragon King was here, he had to put on a show. However, his brother already said so. If he insisted, it would seem like a stranger. When they arrived at the back garden, Yi Feng ordered people to make some simple preparations. Then, the four sat down and started chatting casually. As the conversation progressed, Yi Feng discovered that Xiaochen did not have any of the rumored arrogance. He was clearly more open, laughing non-stop and chatting about anything. During the banquet, Xiaochen took out the ancient saber Dao of Massacre that he copied and gave it to Yi Chen. Yi Chen carefully read it, and could not contain his joy. He carefully put it away and performed a cupped fist salute. "Brother Xiao, you have helped me greatly again. With this ancient sage saber Dao, I will have no problem advancing to the blue-robed emperor within a year." Xiaochen had already accumulated enough. All he lacked now was an opportunity. The ancient saber sovereign's saber Dao of Massacre was such an opportunity. However, this little brother is helpless about Brother Zhao's problem. At the mention of this problem, the atmosphere at the table immediately turned heavy and oppressive. Yi Feng continued. After second brother heard about the matter of physiological lifespan, he immediately went to ask father about it. My father said that there is a chance. However, increasing one's physiological lifespan is as difficult as cutting down the heavens and snatching fate. Yi Chen's father was the Northern Alliance's alliance chief, a greater heavenly emperor Wu. He was a major character through and through. Xiaochen picked up his wine cup and took a sip. Then he said calmly, "There is always a way out. The Great Dao takes 49 and leaves 1. Everything has a chance of survival." The Blue Dragon King's understanding of the Great Dao is very enlightening. Can you explain it to me in detail? Steady laughter resounded. This startled Xiaochen. When did this person arrive? Why did I not sense anything? Chapter 1084. Yi Chun and Yi Feng rejoiced at the same time. They quickly stood up and said, "Father, why are you here?" "Haha. The Blue Dragon King personally came to my Yi clan. How could I not come? Why didn't the two of you tell me?" The newcomer scolded with a smile, appearing very approachable. No wonder no one sensed him. The one who came was the greater heavenly Emperor Wu, a peak martial emperor, the Northern Sea Alliance's alliance chief, Yi Qing. Being addressed as the Blue Dragon King by such a person, Xiaochen simply could not accept it. He quickly stood up and performed a cupped fist salute. "Senior must be joking. How could I dare to call myself king before senior?" Yi Qing retorted seriously. "Why not? This is the title that the prime of the Bushan Palace, the Thunder King, personally conferred. Which martial emperor would dare to not acknowledge it? Senior, just call this little one by my name. I truly do not dare." Xiaochen smiled bitterly. The other party's seriousness put him at a loss. Yi Qing smiled and said, "Haha, I'll stop joking with little friend. Come sit. Yi Qing had a natural charm. His words and actions were very convincing. After everyone sat down, Yi Qing continued. "The number of great changes is a phrase that the orthodox Taoist immortal cultivators often mention during the immortal epoch. Even now, no one can explain the original correct explanation. The Prenglai Sea's people all have their own understandings of it. Speaking of which, why does little friend think that only 1 out of 50 is 49? Heaven never seals off all paths, leaving a chance for survival?" Xiaochen blushed with shame. He really could not come up with any great reason for this phrase. However, he often saw this phrase in all sorts of secret manuals and ancient books. He combined it with his flawless saber Dao and casually comprehended it, not daring to show it off in front of senior. After Xiaochen told the truth, Yi Qing smiled unconcernedly. There are many crucial and controversial points in this phrase. What does the number of great changes refer to? Why only 49 out of 50? There are many different opinions. Little friend, you can just casually say it. Yi Feng and the others also looked at Xiaochen curiously, causing him to feel a significant pressure. He smiled and said, "In that case, I was just speaking casually. Senior, please don't laugh at me. The way I see it, the number of Dian refers to the number of changes in the heavenly Tao. 49 out of 50 is how I understand it. The number of changes in the heavenly Tao requires 50 to be perfect and flawless. However, the heavenly Tao left behind one change, so it is impossible for anything to be perfect. There is nothing in the world that is flawless. This is a sliver of hope. There will always be this sliver of hope. Everyone's life is spent pursuing this sliver of hope. Obtaining this one will create a new one." While the others were still at a loss, Yi Qing's eyes lit up. He smiled and said, "You mean that the great Tao will not change? Even if you obtain this one, the heavenly Tao will change. In the end, you will find that the number of great changes is still 49, and you will have to search for a new one." After that, Yi Qing thought of something and said in sudden understanding, "I heard long ago that you comprehended the flawless saber Tao. Originally, I did not think much of it. However, after hearing what you said, I can conclude that you have indeed created a Tao that belongs to you." Xiaochen felt like he had met someone who understood him. He poured a cup of wine for Yi Qing and continued, "The great Tao is flawless, but it is also flawed. Flawless refers to a kind of pursuit, a kind of obsession. In life, there will always be a sliver of hope. Do not ever give up until the very last moment." Yi Qing felt something in his heart. Xiaochen's words happened to touch on his recent troubles. He drained his cup in one gulp and said, "That's right. There will always be a sliver of hope. Who knows what the future will be like? No matter what, I, Yi Qing, will definitely befriend you, Blue Dragon King. When you advance to Martial Emperor 5 years later, this you will give you a big gift." Xiaochen raised his cup and clinked glasses with Yi Qing, draining it in one gulp. This trip to the Northern Sea had taken up a lot of time. Given the tight time he had, it was not worth it. It was worth it to be able to meet his good friend Yi Chun, and personally impart the mysteries of the massacre saber Tao to him. If he could befriend a senior like Yi Qing, it would all be worth it. Xiaochen drank this cup of wine to his heart's content. Yi Qing smiled and said, It is rare that you are in such a good mood. Let me speak about my thoughts on this great yin number, 49 out of 50. After Yi Feng, Zi Ying, and Yi Chen carefully experienced Xiao Chen's understanding, they were already entranced and gained many comprehensions. When they heard that Yi Qing wanted to speak as well, they could not help but become more interested. Yi Chen even stood up with a smile and said, "Father, let me pour some wine for you. Normally, when I ask you, you always say that you do not know anything. Today you should speak more." Yi Qing smiled and scolded, "You blockhead. No matter how much I speak, you will not understand. Instead, it will harm you. The great yin number, my view is the same as little friend Xiao Chen's. It is the number of changes in the heavenly Tao. However, the one that is removed cannot be chased or found. 1, 2, 3. Yi Qing started counting. At first, he did not feel anything. However, the three slowly discovered that something was wrong. As Yi Qing counted them one by one, the surrounding scenery began to change rapidly, and a small world suddenly formed. Every time Yi Qing counted a world, the small world would change. It was like everything in the world was returning to its place. As the number increased, the small world slowly became more complete. Tall mountains, flowing water, blue sky, white clouds, flowers, trees, and people came and went. Without realizing it, Xiao Chen and the others started silently counting along with Yi Qing's numbers. When Xiao Chen counted to 49, the small world was completely formed. Yi Qing stopped counting. Xiao Chen felt stifled. When he wanted to count to 50, he could not do it no matter how hard he tried. In the end, the number 50 disappeared from his mind. No matter how hard he tried, he could not recall it. Yi Qing drank the cup of wine that Yi Chen poured for him and smiled faintly. "Where is 50? This is my world. I am the heavenly Tao. The final change is myself. It cannot be thought of, it cannot be sought, it cannot be imagined." When Yi Qing waved his hand and scattered his small world, the other three, including Xiao Chen, showed incredulous expressions. They felt like they had opened another door, boundlessly mysterious and unfathomable. Thinking about how he had boasted in front of Yi Qing earlier, Xiao Chen could not help but feel embarrassed. This was the correct understanding. This was how the great Tao should be. Just at this moment, four people arrived with Yi Qing. However, they stood in the distance, looking like guards. One of them ran over and quickly said to Yi Qing, "Big brother, it is about time. The people of the Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor and the other 9 factions should have already set off." Yi Qing stood up and looked at Yi Feng. "Feng go and bring Mr. Qin over. Then we will leave together. Chen take good care of little brother Xiao Chen, and this young lady from the 9 Cauldron Merchant Association. Take good care of them as well." An indiscernible sadness flashed in Yi Feng's eyes. Then he stood up to receive the order and left. "Little friend, don't let your Tao waver. The great Tao has always been one where hundreds of schools of thought contend. There is no correct great Tao. My Tao might not be the only one." Before Yi Qing left, he said this to Xiao Chen. Then he patted Xiao Chen's shoulder and smiled. "Let's go. I am going to the one you mentioned. The one chance of survival. Until the very end, I cannot give up." After saying that, the current alliance chief of the Northern Sea Alliance left with the 4 people that followed him like shadows. Xiao Chen entered deep thought, feeling greatly touched. After a while he reacted and asked, "Yi Chen, what is your father going to do? Why does he look so worried?" Yi Chen sighed and said, "Recently, I discovered a dragon cave in the Northern Sea. It seems to contain a holy spirit vein, perhaps even a king's spirit vein. My elder brother went to invite someone. Originally, he wanted to invite the publicly acknowledged strongest geomaster, Jiang Tian. However, who could have imagined that the Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor's people would invite him? When he went to invite other geomasters, he discovered that the more famous ones had already been invited by other factions. So he could only invite a low-ranked geomaster. Xiao Chen understood. Although losing a holy spirit vein to a major faction like the Yi clan was painful, it was still acceptable. If a king's spirit vein was snatched away by the Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor or another faction, the Yi clan's position as the top faction in the Northern Sea Alliance would definitely be unstable. The importance of a geomaster in fighting for a hidden spirit vein like this went without saying. Ordinary spirit veins could be discovered with one glance. With soaring spiritual energy and various mysterious phenomena, it would be hard not to discover them. However, everyone could discover such spirit veins. The various holy lands had already plundered them clean. Once they appeared, they would incite the various factions to fight over them. In this day and age, if one wanted to discover a new spirit vein, they could only rely on a geomaster to seek dragons and fix veins. After the Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor managed to invite Jiang Tian away, the Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor had already snatched away half of the spirit vein hidden in this dragon cave. The Yi clan had lost a great advantage. It was practically impossible for a mediocre geomaster to compete with the Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor, which had the strongest geomaster. When Ziying heard this, she immediately looked at Xiao Chun. She smiled and said, "In that case, how about Brother Xiao give it a try? He is quite knowledgeable about seeking dragons and fixing veins. It would not be too much to consider him an expert." Yi Chen's eyes lit up as he asked in anticipation, "Xiao Chun, you also know how to seek dragons and fix veins?" Xiao Chun smiled bitterly to himself. He knew that Ziying was taking revenge on him. He took a sip of wine and smiled. "Don't listen to her nonsense. I only know a little about this. Before a geomaster, it is not worth mentioning." However, Yi Chen did not care that much. He stood up and pulled Xiao Chen along with him. He smiled and said, "It's fine. Let's go. In that case, come with me and take a look. I don't need you to do anything. Just watch." Ziying looked provocatively at Xiao Chen, smiling gently. Her meaning was clear. "You did not tell me anything. Now, it will be hard for you not to expose yourself." Xiao Chen could not avoid Yi Chen's enthusiasm. He said helplessly, "All right, I'll go and take a look. However, don't get your hopes up." Yi Chen smiled and said, "It's fine. Just go and take a look. It will just broaden my horizons. Let's see how these geomasters subdue a dragon." Yi Chen led Xiao Chen and Ziying, rushing all the way. They finally caught up to Yi Qing's group, who were preparing to leave, at the gates of the city lord's residence. Xiao Chen sized up the group. Not including Yi Qing, there were at least 3 Emperor Wu. The others were all blue-robed emperor experts. There were also many peak consummation blue-robed emperors with souls condensed in their heavenly seal. Aside from these, there were also many strong grandmaster-level martial sages standing on the war chariots waiting in the air. They controlled the war chariots into battle formations, enough to pose a threat to Emperor Wu. Chapter 1085. With such a grand lineup, it could be seen that the Yi clan's attention to this operation had reached an extremely high standard. "Father, wait a moment." Seeing that Yi Qing was about to board the war chariot, Yi Chen pushed Xiao Chen forward and said, "Bring us along." Xiao Chen is somewhat proficient in seeking dragons and fixing veins. Shock flashed in Yi Qing's eyes. Then he turned to Xiao Chen and asked, "Little friend, you really know how to seek dragons and fix veins?" "Humph. Now everyone dares to call themselves a geomaster? You inexperienced brat, yet you dare to speak such nonsense. How come I have never heard of a geomaster clan with the surname Xiao?" Just as Xiao Chen was about to deny it, a rude voice rang out. When he looked over, the one who spoke was an old man dressed in ancient attire. This should be a geomaster that the Yi clan invited. Yi Feng introduced apologetically. "This is Senior Yuan Qinghuan. He has been a geomaster for 100 years. Senior Yuan, this is Xiao Chen, an honored guest of my Yi clan." When Yuan Qinghuan heard Yi Feng's introduction that Xiao Chen was an honored guest of the Yi clan, his tone softened. Then he said with a cold expression, "Since he is an honored guest of the Yi clan, I can't be bothered to say more. However, don't just casually say that you know how to seek dragons and fix veins. That is an insult to our profession. You are just a mediocre geomaster. Why are you spouting so much nonsense?" Yi Chen immediately lost his temper. Xiao Chen pulled Yi Qing back and said apologetically to Yi Qing, "This junior is only slightly interested in seeking dragons and fixing veins. I can't be considered to understand it, much less be proficient in it. I'm just going to take a look." Yi Qing smiled and said, "It's fine. Let's go and take a look then. Feng'er, prepare a war chariot for them. Come, let's depart now." The group of people rode on the war chariot, looking like celestial soldiers and generals. On the war chariot that Yi Feng and the others were on, Yi Qing was still brooding. He scolded. "This old fellow is not capable himself, yet he is putting on airs. If not for father stopping me, I would have beaten him up." Yi Feng frowned and said, "Don't be rash. He is already the strongest geomaster I can hire. He has experience subduing 10 superior spirit veins." Ziying interrupted. "However, I heard that Jiang Tian once helped an immortal Holy Land subdue a king's spirit vein." Yi Feng's expression turned somewhat unsightly. He said helplessly, "Father no longer holds much hope for us to subdue this unknown spirit vein. It is unavoidable for the soul he Gemin Mountain Manor to grow stronger. We can only think of other countermeasures." Yi Chen asked out of curiosity, "What countermeasures?" Yi Feng remained silent for a while before saying, "If there really is a king's spirit vein hidden in the dragon cave this time, then we should advance to sovereign martial emperor." "That's too risky," Yi Chen exclaimed. "There is nothing we can do about it. Once the soul he Gemin Mountain Manor obtains the king's spirit vein, they will definitely surpass our Yi family and become the new alliance chief." The war chariot fell silent. Yi Chen pulled Xiaochen to the side and whispered, "Xiaochen, can you tell me if you know how to seek dragons and fix veins? The sovereign tribulation is already very dangerous. Advancing it in advance will increase the danger significantly." Xiaochen understood Yi Chen's feelings. After a while he said, "I can only promise you that if it really is a king's spirit vein, I can make it so that no one can obtain it. In terms of seeking dragons and fixing veins, I am still too inexperienced compared to those veteran geomasters." Yi Chen smiled and said, "That is all I need to hear." Xiaochen did not know what danger he would face if he exposed the Yuan clan's dragon-seeking art. However, for the sake of this friend before him, he could only ignore the danger. The chariots soon left the cloud-soaring island. After flying for half a day on the surface of the sea, they stopped on a sea that was clearly unusual and densely covered with barren mountains. Up above, there were already people from many factions gathered together. Every faction's lineup was only slightly weaker than the Yi clans. This was Xiaochen's first time seeing so many Emperor Wus. The atmosphere in the air was so oppressive that it was hard to breathe. Xiaochen withdrew his thoughts and carefully sized up the situation below. The entire sea covered an area of more than 5,000 kilometers. There were many mountains at the bottom of the sea in the south. Only the tip of the iceberg could be seen, stretching out endlessly. Xiaochen counted carefully. There was a total of 18 mountains at the bottom of the sea, which startled him. While the peaks of the mountains above the water were no more than a kilometer tall, if one counted the mountains hidden under the water, they would be ridiculously huge. When seeking dragons and fixing veins, the first thing one needed to do was to look for the mountains and rivers, the ferocious beasts in the south. With such huge mountains and 18 of them, Xiaochen did not dare to imagine how many horrifying ferocious beasts were hidden in the dragon caves. Then Xiaochen looked to the north. There were hundreds of small islands just emerging from the surface of the sea. The north and south corresponded. The ferocious beasts in the south eyed each other with malicious intent. The dragon guards in the north guarded the side, blocking all evil. There were more than 100 dragon guards. Xiaochen was shocked again. No wonder the various factions sent out such a large lineup. There might really be a king's spirit vein hidden in this dragon cave. Of course, Xiaochen could not come to a conclusion too accurately. The third segment of the Paradise Secret Canon, The 100 Changes of the Heavenly Mysteries, introduced the existence of many fake dragon caves. Unfortunately, it was not convenient for Xiaochen to open his heavenly eye. Otherwise, he would be able to obtain more useful information. It was not easy to make a concrete judgment just by looking at the surface of the sea. Xiaochen looked up and frowned slightly. The sky was not dark yet, and he could not see the starry heavens clearly. This was a headache. "Did you see anything?" Yi Chen asked anxiously. Xiaochen shook his head and remained silent. Yi Feng turned his head and said, "There is an alliance warship over there. Father is calling us over." Xiao Chen turned his head to look. The leaders of the various factions led the geomasters of their factions on a very large warship, continuously flying over. Let's go. The four flew to the deck. The deck was astonishingly vast. It was flat and boundlessly vast. Xiao Chen felt like he was on an aircraft carrier that he had only seen on television in his previous life. However, the warship they were on was much more powerful than an aircraft carrier. They were not on the same level. A tall platform was erected on the deck. Yi Qing sat on the throne on the platform. His followers, Emperor Wu, stood on either side. On his right was the Geomaster Yuan Qinghuan. The leaders of the various factions stood on both sides of the deck with their geomasters. The gazes of the various major characters filled with curiosity as they looked at Xiao Chen. Although this junior was not as strong as Emperor Wu, and was rather far from their circle, they had heard of his name long ago. Yi Qing smiled and pointed behind him, indicating for Xiao Chen and the others to just stand there and not speak. Alliance Chief Yi, can we begin the first step? The geomasters of our factions have been preparing for a long time already. An old man asked with an excited expression. Although the other leaders did not say anything, they clearly could not wait any longer. Yi Qing said, let's wait for a while. The Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor's brother Shi is not here yet. There is no rush to check the earth vein for now. Ha! Brother Yi is really generous. Fellow Taoist Shi Tianyu is late. Sorry about that. Amid loud laughter, a middle-aged man with an aura no weaker than Yi Qing's landed on the deck with the strongest geomaster of the heavenly starry ocean, Jiang Tian, his son Shifeng, and a few Emperor Wu's followers. Xiao Chen, who was standing behind Yi Qing, felt a gaze. He looked up and saw Shifeng looking at him provocatively. Yi Qing said, let's begin. Since Brother Shi is here then. Wait. Shi Tianyu waved his hand domineeringly and smiled. Checking the earth vein is just a small matter. There is no need for so many geomasters to work together. Old Mr. Jiang alone is sufficient. The others could not help feeling angry. From the very start, this Shi Tianyu intended to exclude the others and monopolize this spirit vein. Yi Qing felt upset as well. This Shi Tianyu did not give any face to him, the alliance chief, at all, not taking his words seriously at all. However, even if Yi Qing was upset, he had to endure it. Who asked the other party to invite Jiang Tian, the strongest geomaster of the heavenly starry ocean? Shi Tianyu ignored Yi Qing and said calmly, Old brother Jiang, sorry to trouble you. Jiang Tian nodded, and slowly walked to the railing at the side. The people of the other factions quickly crowded over, wanting to see what would happen next. They saw the old man with the family name Jiang wave his hand and point to the sky. The clouds slowly parted like curtains on a stage, revealing a vast and boundless starry heavens with radiance. Jiang Tian waved his right hand, and a black flag appeared. Then he casually tossed it into the air. The flag transformed into 81 flags and stabbed into the water. In that instant, the surface of the sea turned transparent, allowing everyone to see the situation at the bottom of the sea clearly. The Jiang clan's worldly wind and water flags are indeed extraordinary. When many of the geomasters saw this scene, they all felt admiration for Jiang Tian. Although they were upset that Jiang Tian managed to suppress all of them by himself, they truly admired his strength. Xiao Chen quickly walked over to the railing and looked at the bottom of the sea. After a while his expression changed slightly. Then he raised his head and looked at the boundless starry heavens. Xiao Chen's expression changed completely. This was a chain of dragon caves. It was hard to tell the real from the fake. Perhaps there was an evil dragon hidden here. This was a very ominous situation that could kill Emperor Wu. 9 stars Sealing Dragon. Tanlang, Zhemen Lutsuan, Wenxiu Lianjin, Wuxiu Pejuan, Left Minister, and Right Minister. All 9 stars are present. This is my first time seeing such a situation. There might be a king spirit vein hidden here. Even if it is not a king spirit vein, it should be a peak holy spirit vein. Yuan Qinghuan, the geomaster hired by the Yi clan, immediately cried out excitedly when he saw the situation at the bottom of the sea, feeling extremely shocked. Yi Chen asked with a smile, Can Mr. subdue and suppress it? Yuan Qinghuan felt stifled. How could he have the ability to subdue Xiao Chen? Even if the other geomasters were not around, It would be hard for him to deal with this alone. Furthermore, there were so many Geomasters, especially with Jiang Tian present. No matter what, it would not be Xiao Chen's turn. He turned around and said angrily, "Go ahead if you can." Yi Qing frowned slightly and said sullenly, "Mister, just tell me the truth. How likely are you to subdue this dragon cave? How confident are you in fighting with the other Geomasters?" Before a major character like Yi Qing, Yuan Qinghuan did not dare to be impudent. He stammered, I'm not afraid to speak the truth. All the Geomasters in the heavenly starry ocean who can compete with Jiang Tian are either dead, in seclusion, or consecrated by an immortal holy land. There is no Geomaster here who can stop him." Chapter 1086. It is not just this old man whose chances are slim. The other Geomasters' chances are slim as well. We can only see if we can find an opportunity to fish in troubled waters. Seeing Yi Qing's unfriendly expression, Yuan Qinghuan continued, "Well, this old man can't come here for nothing. Usually, when I travel around the world, I found several dragon caves with top-grade spirit veins. As long as Alliance leader sends a few blue-robed emperors to follow me, after this, I will help Alliance leader Yi find a few supreme-grade spirit veins." Although a peak spirit vein was precious, how could it compare to a king spirit vein? Yi Qing did not have any interest in it. He looked at the transparent seawater below and waved his hand. "We'll talk about it later." As Jiang Tian moved his hands, the worldly wind-water banner illuminated the situation under the sea. Some of the mountains shrouded in fog could be seen clearly. As the various Geomasters observed the earth veins, they could not help sighing. Occasionally, Yi Qing heard something about the 9 stars locking dragon. A great dragon would definitely appear in an auspicious place. He went to take a look, but he couldn't see anything. The bottom of the sea was full of messy mountains and precipitous ridges. There were no stars or dragons. He could not help asking anxiously, "Xiao Chen, what is the 9-star locking dragon?" Xiao Chen was looking up at the celestial phenomena. He withdrew his gaze and answered, "The 9 stars are the 9 stars in the sky. In the terminology of dragon seeking, it refers to the mountain peaks named after these stars. They usually appear around dragon caves. Among the 9 stars, there are 3 great auspicious stars. They are Tanling, Jimin, and Wuxia. Normally, there is only one great auspicious star in a dragon cave, and the quality of the spirit vein will be higher. If there are 3 auspicious stars, it will be amazing. The left minister's and right minister's star peaks are small auspicious stars. They appear the most, and the spirit veins with them are of superior quality. If there aren't even small auspicious stars, even if there is a saint-grade spirit vein, the quality would be average." Ziying, who was listening attentively at the side, interrupted. "If there are auspicious stars, there must be ominous stars. According to what you said, Pejuan, Lianjin, Lu Xiyuan, and Wenxiu are the 4 ominous stars." Xiao Chen raised his head and glanced at him. He smiled and said, "You got it right away. You're right." Yi Qing asked curiously, "When the 9 stars gather, there are auspicious stars and inauspicious stars. Why do so many Geomasters say that it is auspicious and ignore the inauspicious stars?" Xiao Chen looked up at the starry sky and said with a double meaning, "This is the ingenuity of feng shui. Look at the 4 inauspicious star peaks. They are all lower than the 3 auspicious stars. Compared to the 2 little Jixingfeng, they are even shorter. This way, the aura of the ominous star will be completely suppressed. Not only will it be unable to display its might, but it will also allow the Jixingfeng to use its momentum to strengthen itself, forming the rarely seen 9-star sealing dragon." Not far away, Yi Qing heard Xiao Chen's discussion and said to Yuan Qinghuan, "Mr. Yuan, is what little friend Xiao Chen said right?" Yuan Qinghuan was a little embarrassed. After a while he said, almost, but he still wanted to say something, but found that Yi Qing, with a trace of a smile, had already strode over to Xiao Chen. Unexpectedly, little friend has such an understanding of seeking dragons and fixing veins, Yi Qing said with a smile as he walked over. Xiao Chen whispered, "It is just a superficial knowledge. Compared to the Geomasters here, I am still far from it." Yi Qing did not think so. he said. There is no need to be humble. If you really know how to seek dragons and fix veins, my Yi clan will have many opportunities to work with you in the future. Alliance Chief, Shi Tianyu is calling everyone over. He says that it is about time to prepare to wash the sea. Just as Shi Tianyu was about to say more, Yi Qing heard a report. He smiled apologetically and led the 4 Emperor Wu and Jiang Tian over to where Shi Tianyu was. Washing the sea was to clear out the seawater and leave an empty space. Although the various factions fought among themselves, no matter who obtained the spirit vein, it would strengthen the Northern Sea Alliance. Washing the sea definitely needed to be done together. The leaders of the 10 factions of the Northern Sea Alliance gathered at where Jiang Tian was, preparing to clear out the seawater at any time to facilitate fixing the veins. Old brother Jiang, can we begin? Shi Tianyu asked somewhat impatiently when he saw that Jiang Tian had already thoroughly explored the veins at the bottom of the sea. Jiang Tian shook his head and said, "There is no rush. Let me take a look at the celestial phenomenon first." When the other geomasters heard this, they could not help revealing envious expressions. Not all geomasters knew the lost ancient stargazing technique. When Xiaochen, who was standing far away on the deck, heard this, he took advantage of the fact that the many geomasters and cultivators were all gathered around Jiang Tian to sneak to an unnoticed corner. Xiaochen closed his eyes and formed hand seals. The magic energy in his sea of consciousness burned continuously as he executed the magic skill, Starry Heavenstorm. Xiaochen was not truly going to unleash Starry Heavenstorm. Instead, he wanted to use this magic skill to blur the original celestial phenomenon, covering up the light of the stars and disrupting Jiang Tian's observation. Sweat poured off Xiaochen's forehead like rain. The originally abundant magic energy in his sea of consciousness drained like a flash flood. Soon most of it vanished. Jiang Tian did not care. After he clearly saw the 9 stars sealing the dragon below, he was already certain that this was a very auspicious dragon cave of extremely high quality. Observing the celestial phenomenon was just a habit. After taking a few glances and not noticing anything strange, Jiang Tian said, "That's enough. Do you see my worldly wind water banner? Drain all the seawater where the worldly wind water banner is." At that time, everyone, "Let's see who can subdue this dragon based on our own abilities. That way, we can avoid harming our friendships." The other geomasters laughed in embarrassment at Jiang Tian's last sentence. "Who can compare to you, Jiang Tian?" His words were as good as not saying anything at all. Yi Qing, Shi Tianyu, and the others turned around and appeared on the surface of the sea as if they teleported. With a shout, the 10 made their move at the same time, raising their right palms to the sky. A loud rumble rang out, sounding like thunder. A shocking scene appeared. Under the might of the 10 greater heavenly Emperor Wu, the seawater split into 10 portions like the ground. Each greater heavenly emperor controlled a portion, lifting up the vast seawater like it was a mountain. After that, the greater heavenly emperors casually tossed the vast seawater into the distance and landed on the surface of the sea thousands of kilometers away. The resulting tremors made one's heart pound heavily, deafening. The somewhat pale Xiaochen walked to the side of the deck and looked at the vast sea below. Someone had dug out a large hole the size of Lingyun Island. Xiaochen could not help but feel shocked. The strength of the greater heavenly emperor, Wu, was truly incredible. If he had not seen it for himself, he would never be able to imagine how strong these people were. Shi Tianyu's group suspended the seawater in the air. The various geomasters did not remain idle either. They all took out their own dragon-seeking secret treasures and blocked off the seawater. Jiang Tian immediately descended and headed for the core of the 9 stars sealing the dragon. The other geomasters quickly followed, their expressions extremely grave. The other lesser heavenly emperor Wu and the blue-robed emperor also stored up power and flew down like sharp arrows. Then, the 10 geomasters landed on the 9 star peaks one after another, preparing to open the dragon cave. The mystery that had troubled everyone for a long time. What grade of spirit vein was hidden in the dragon cave was about to be revealed. At this moment, everyone's gazes landed on the dragon cave sealed by the 9 stars. Only Xiaochen raised his head and looked at the starry heavens. At some point in time, the 4 ominous stars, Pujuan, Lianjun, Luzuan, and Wenxiu, had become extremely bright. As for the 5 auspicious stars, Tanlang, Jimin, Wuxia, left minister and right minister, they were all dim and dismal. Not many people could recognize the 9 stars. Furthermore, the starry heavens were vast, with countless stars. Probably only Jiang Tian, whose attention was no longer on the starry heavens, could make out the reason behind the dazzling starlight. Good or bad luck was hard to determine. There was no such thing as an unchanging landscape in geomancy. Aside from Jiang Tian, who hovered above the dragon cave, the other geomasters stood on the 9 star peaks, each holding a dragon-seeking secret treasure. A tense and excited atmosphere filled every corner of the grand scene. Everyone had a grave expression on their faces. Jiang Tian was the first to make a move. He raised his hand, and cracks appeared on the seabed. Multicolored lights spewed out from them. The other geomasters executed their various means, preparing to force out the spirit vein hidden in the dragon cave in one go. The multicolored lights flickered and turned into 9 beams of light before stopping. Dense spiritual energy filled the world, causing a colorful spiritual rain to fall. Splash! Splash! The rain did not stop. After the spiritual rain permeated the huge pits in the sea and every patch of mud, it gave off a vibrant life force. Everyone could feel the pure spiritual chi of heaven and earth in the raindrops, and they were wild with joy. 9-colored multicolored light. This is a king spirit vein. Everyone was shocked. Although they had expected this, when they personally saw the 9-colored multicolored light and the 9-colored spiritual rain, the shock in everyone's heart was indescribable. How rare was a king spirit vein? It was one of the standards of a holy land's strength. A sect without a king spirit vein could not be considered a holy land, no matter how strong it was. It was just like how the 9 ranks of the great families needed a holy spirit vein. The leaders of the 10 major forces were all gathered on the 18 mountains in the south, each of which was 100,000 meters tall. When they saw this 9-colored multicolored light, their expressions turned somewhat complicated. The Seoul Hegemon Mountain Manor Shirtanyu smiled and said, "Brother Yi, with this king spirit vein, the Northern Sea Alliance will definitely become stronger. In the future, you will no longer have to work so hard. You can rest well." There was a hidden meaning in Shirtanyu's words. The ambition of a wolf was clear. How could Yi Qing not understand? He said coldly, "Brother Shir, you are really considerate. However, it is still too early to say this." Shirtanyu laughed maniacally and said, "Early? I don't believe that with Mr. Jiang here, no one will have a chance to snatch away this king spirit vein. The two of you, let's not argue for now. Subduing a king spirit vein is of great importance. Even with Jiang Tian here, we cannot make any mistakes. Otherwise, it will be a loss for the entire Northern Sea Alliance." One of the older elders among the 10 reminded them when he saw that the atmosphere between the two of them was filled with hostility. When the two heard that, they snorted coldly and did not say anything more. Suddenly, Yi Qing frowned and stretched out his finger to wipe off the spiritual rain on his forehead. Then his pupils constricted and shock flashed in his eyes. The spiritual rain on Yi Qing's finger was actually scarlet. When Yi Qing looked up, his expression changed drastically. The 9-colored spiritual rain vanished. In its place, a blood rain fell in the sky. It was cold and emotionless, giving off an evil and strange aura. Chapter 1087. Blood Rain. Why is there a blood rain? Horror flashed in the eyes of the many cultivators on the deck. They had never seen such a vast blood rain in their lives. The many geomasters on the 9-star peak paled. Their faces drained of all color. Their bodies trembled slightly. Blood rain falling from the sky, no light for 500 kilometers around. What an ominous situation. How can it be like this? The 3 great auspicious stars are suppressing the 4 great inauspicious stars, using their momentum to form the 9 stars sealing the dragon. This is clearly an auspicious land. Why is there such an ominous sign? Jiang Tian's expression turned grave as he looked at the sky. He saw that the 9 stars, including the Tanlang star, had already formed a line in the pitch-black starry heavens. It was like a beam of scarlet light had connected the 9 stars. Linked by blood, 9-star alignment. Jiang Tian's heart trembled. Damn it. Why did I only discover such a celestial phenomenon now? If I had discovered it earlier, I would not have been so rash. I could have thought of other ways to subdue this spirit vein. Now that I blindly opened the acupoints, the scarlet light appeared, and the 9-star alignment formed. It was too late. Without saying another word, he turned around and ran. He got up and flew back, and his face was filled with panic. Now that Jiang Tian had left, how could the other geomasters dare to continue opening their acupoints? They quickly followed, fleeing in the air. A deafening rumble echoed through the world. In the south, the 18 mountains that stretched for thousands of miles, and were tens of thousands of feet tall, were completely shattered one after another. Without holding anything back, surging shock waves surged out. Even though the warship Shaochun was almost tens of thousands of meters away, the shock waves still caused it to sway left and right. The roar resounded, and the sound waves shook space. It was like a voice from hell. The huge warship could no longer hold out, and it collapsed. Shaochun quickly took out his small silver boat and boarded Ziying, Yichun, and Yifeng. Then he flew far away at lightning speed. What was that? Yifeng was in disbelief. Just the roar alone had shattered the sturdy royal-grade warship from before. The blood rain continued to fall without end. Shaochun stood at the bow of the warship, unable to answer Yifeng's question. There had to be ferocious beasts hidden in the southern mountains of the Dragon Cave. This was the reason why regular geomasters could not subdue spirit veins by themselves. They could not deal with ferocious beasts. For example, this time around, the 10 Greater Celestial Emperor Wu of the North Sea Alliance had been deployed on the ominous mountain. However, the situation was not looking too optimistic. When Shaochun collected the advanced spirit vein, a ferocious beast comparable to a Grand Master jumped out. No one could guess what kind of ferocious beasts were hidden in these 18 incomparably huge mountain ranges. In this sky full of blood rain, what kind of terrifying combat power would it erupt with? Only from the fact that even 10 Greater Celestial Emperor Wu couldn't take care of this group of beasts so quickly. Could he tell a thing or two about it? The entire ocean crater was in complete chaos, and the terrain had completely changed. Hundreds of mountains in the north rose up from the ground and shot towards the fleeing geomasters. These mountains were much larger than the ones Shaochun had faced in the past. Even the blue-robed emperor did not dare to underestimate the power of these mountains. If he were to face them head-on, he would be heavily injured. Fortunately, the North Sea Alliance had made a lot of preparations this time. They brought several blue-robed emperors to help the 10 geomasters block the many mountains. Quick leave. This is a great ominous land with a powerful ferocious dragon hidden. The many geomasters shouted as they ran. The vast group did not even bother to wipe off the blood rain that covered them as they fled. After the geomasters left, the seawater, which had been blocked by the barriers earlier, crashed down with the sound of the waves. It felt like the sky was shattering. The scene was incredibly majestic. The huge crater filled up, and the seawater closed up once more. The cultivators of the North Sea Alliance who had escaped all felt fear in their hearts. The earlier moment was no more than 10 breaths of time. However, it felt like a lifetime had passed. The sea churned endlessly, and the seawater turned scarlet. None of the Emperor Wu came out, still fighting with the mysterious ferocious beasts at the bottom of the sea. The group felt very nervous. They did not know what kind of group of ferocious beasts this was. 10 Greater Celestial Emperor Wu and many Lesser Celestial Emperor Wu working together could not deal with them. Plop! Yiqing flew out of the water amid a splash. The 4 Lesser Celestial Emperor Wu following behind him were covered in wounds. Yiqing looked around and saw Shaochun and the others. Then he stretched out his hand and made a grabbing motion. A strong suction came out, and the small silver warship flew over. Without saying anything, Yiqing sent out a palm strike and tore space apart. Then he led the others into the crack. The figures of the Yi clan's blue-robed emperor experts all flashed in. The leaders of the other factions appeared one after another with Emperor Wu. They all had fatigued expressions and did not say anything. Then they tore space apart and led the people of their factions, preparing to flee far away. Everyone's hearts were filled with questions. What kind of existence made the greater celestial emperor Wu so anxious, not willing to stay a moment longer? The instant the spatial crack closed, Xiaochen vaguely saw a scarlet dragon claw poke out of the water and tear space apart, tearing apart countless war chariots and warships. Fortunately, the blue-robed emperor cultivators above had all retreated. Otherwise, no one would have survived this claw. When the Yi clan's group reappeared, they were already in the sky above Lingyun Island. Yi Qing heaved a sigh of relief. Then he said sullenly, "Unexpectedly, there is a mutated evil dragon with a king spirit vein hidden in the dragon cave. To think that Jiang Tian did not discover it, and rashly opened the dragon cave without any preparations. It looks like he does not live up to his reputation." Yi Feng exclaimed in shock. "Father, what do you mean by that?" Yi Qing smiled and said, "That is to say, no one can obtain this king spirit vein now. If that group of people from the Seoul Hegemen Mountain Manor want to target my Yi clan, they will have to think twice before doing so." As Yi Qing spoke, a spatial crack opened. Shi Tianyu, who had an unlucky expression, appeared with the Seoul Hegemen Mountain Manor's people. Shi Tianyu happened to see Yi Qing smile, and could not help but rage. He felt extremely upset, so he snorted coldly and led his people away. Yi Chen smiled and said, "In that case we have to celebrate." That group of people from the Seoul Hegemen Mountain Manor thought that by inviting Jiang Tian, they would gain a lot no matter what. They are really sullen now. Yi Qing nodded and said, "There is no need to celebrate. After this matter, it is time for me to enter closed-door cultivation. Such lucky things cannot happen all the time. Only by advancing to sovereign martial emperor can the Yi clan maintain its position." Xiaochen smiled gently at the side. The obstruction of the Seoul Hegemen Mountain Manor's plan would give Yi Qing a long buffer time to break through to sovereign martial emperor. Xiaochen had fulfilled his promise to Yi Chun, so it was time for him to do his own things. Yi Qing and the others tried to get Xiaochen to stay. However, when they saw that he had made up his mind, they did not say anything more. As Yi Qing watched Xiaochen leave, he entered deep thought. He kept feeling that Xiaochen appeared too calm. Something was not right. Xiaochen did not truly leave. One night later, when the morning sun rose, he appeared in an ominous land, a place where even Emperor Wu did not dare to linger. As he looked at the scarlet sea below him, Xiaochen took out the Paradise Secret Canon and carefully searched through the third segment of the 100 Changes of Heavenly Mysteries. Xiaochen had discovered long ago that this dragon vein was not simple. However, there were too many people here, preventing him from displaying it. The underground had always been a place with the densest yin-attributed qi. Normally, the things buried underground were covered in yin-attributed qi. If one was not careful, they could mutate into something evil. If this turned into a great ominous land, the evil that came out would be even more incredible. However, no matter how well a mutated and corrupted spirit vein hid, there would always be traces of it. The dragon vein before Xiaochen hid it very well, nearly fooling most geomasters. Just from the landscape of the earth vein, few could tell that this was a dangerous land. Only by combining the stars would one be able to tell. If not for the Paradise Secret Canon that Xiaochen grasped, which was far superior to the geomaster's dragon-seeking arts, he would not have been able to find any traces of it. Even with Xiaochen's current level, he would not have been able to find any traces of it. "I found it." With the blood linking, the 9 stars linking. The 9 stars sealing the dragon will turn into the Blood Berserk Dragon formation. If one blindly opens the Blood Berserk Dragon formation, there will be a rain of blood, which will multiply the strength of the nearby ferocious beasts. When the evil dragon comes out, it will flee far away, and it will be hard to find. Xiaochen rejoiced in his heart. Indeed, that was the case. He knew that the Paradise Secret Canon would have records of this. Recollecting his thoughts, Xiaochen continued reading. His main concern was whether he could find the evil dragon that came out or not. Xiaochen continued reading without missing a single word. Finally, he found some clues. The evil dragon in this formation would come out prematurely. There was only one choice. That was to swallow up the other spirit veins and find another dragon vein. Otherwise, this king's spirit vein that had lost its safe place would slowly wither day by day. Its rank would drop continuously until it disappeared. After reading up to this point, Xiaochen entered deep thought. This gave him an opportunity. When the evil dragon found a new dragon vein, it would definitely fight with the new dragon. When the two dragons fought, no matter who won, it would end up in a sorry state. Xiaochen thought about how the Northern Sea Alliance could not subdue this evil dragon with such a large force. Instead, they suffered heavy casualties and had to retreat in sorry states. Even if Xiaochen ran into an evil dragon now, he would have to retreat. Xiaochen thought about the scene he saw when he entered the void. The scene of a towering blood claw breaking out of the sea and sweeping through the surroundings still made him tremble in fear. Searching for the evil dragon was just a mark for himself. When he grew stronger in the future, he would come back to subdue this king spirit vein. A king spirit vein was not something that could be found on a whim. As Xiaochen continued reading, a clue that caught his attention appeared. The dragon vein that hid a king spirit vein would definitely form a small ancestral vein. As the ancestral vein continued to develop, a series of spirit veins would appear, ranging from high to low, from Holy Spirit vein to the lowest spirit vein. Not to mention the low-grade spirit vein, the Holy Spirit vein was already sufficient to attract Xiaochen's attention. As for how to find this dragon vein in the ancestral vein, that would depend on Xiaochen's own ability. After putting away the jade strip, Xiaochen opened his heavenly eye. A strange purple eye appeared, clearly seeing the situation at the bottom of the sea. The terrain of the dragon vein was already utterly destroyed. The 9 astral peaks crumbled, and scarlet bubbles continuously leaked out of the cracks in the ground. I cannot see the ancestral vein's direction like this. I have to go down. Xiaochen closed his heavenly eye and prepared to go down. Xiaochen, it is best not to go down first. This place feels strange. Chapter 1088. Ao Jiao flew out of the immortal spirit ring, frowning as she tried to persuade Xiaochen. Xiaochen turned around and looked at Ao Jiao. Then he raised his eyebrows and asked doubtfully, "Little Ao Jiao, why do you look different?" This was the first time Xiaochen saw Ao Jiao after consuming and refining the azure underworld fruit. There were no changes to Ao Jiao's appearance, demeanor, or figure. However, Xiaochen felt that there was something that he had not noticed. Was he imagining things? Ao Jiao smiled faintly and stretched out her hand, indicating for Xiaochen to take it. Xiaochen reached out and grabbed it. Her skin was smooth and soft, even giving off a faint warmth. Xiaochen's heart skipped a beat. Warmth. What's going on? It is indeed warmth. Ao Jiao is an item spirit. How can she have warmth? That is inexplicable. Hee. I didn't tell you to hold it so hard. Ao Jiao said coquettishly. Xiaochen quickly let go. After apologizing, he asked, "What's going on? The azure underworld fruit has such an effect?" Ao Jiao said, "Do you still remember that old man in the Blue Dragon Palace?" "That's right, the item spirit of the Blue Dragon Palace. He used a finger to send me away. After I woke up, my body has been slowly changing." Xiaochen recalled that there was indeed such a scene. Back then, that old item spirit seemed to have said that when Ao Jiao woke up, she would properly thank him. What exactly are the changes? Ao Jiao's eyes flickered with confusion. She shook her head and said, "I don't know what the changes are either. However, I can clearly feel that I can cultivate on my own. This is even more obvious after I revived. The mutated fruit that nourishes the soul can allow my strength to increase significantly. As for what happens after that, you can see for yourself. As for what will happen in the future, I don't know either." Xiaochen thought for a while and said, "Since that old man from the Blue Dragon Palace did this, it should not be a bad thing. After I become a martial emperor in the future, I will ask him personally and understand." "All right, I'll go with you. I'm strong enough to face the advanced blue-robed emperor now." Ao Jiao nodded. Hua. Golden light flickered, and little yellow feather flaunted its prowess as it appeared. It squeaked, indicating that it also wanted to go down. Xiaochen smiled and said, "The two of you are not allowed to come out. I will go down alone. If there is any danger, I can use the freedom wings to flee quickly. But, no buts. Just listen to me, okay?" The danger below was unpredictable, and Xiaochen did not want Ao Jiao to take the risk, especially now. Ao Jiao felt helpless. She hugged little Yellow Feather and said, "All right, I'll listen to you. If there is any danger, remember to leave immediately. Don't worry. It should be fine." The ferocious beasts already followed the evil dragons far away, or went to search for new spirit veins. Furthermore, I still have the life-saving plume feather that little Yellow Feather gave me. Xiaochen smiled faintly. After Ao Jiao and little Yellow Feather entered the immortal spirit ring, he took a deep breath and entered this vast scarlet sea. Xiaochen quickly descended to where the dragon cave was. Then he looked into the distance, carefully observing and searching the messy and dilapidated landscape. As long as the direction of the ancestral vein's origin followed, he would be able to find the Holy Spirit vein that existed in the ancestral vein. After subduing this Holy Spirit vein and searching for the fleeing evil dragons, as long as the plan went smoothly, Xiaochen would gain a lot. At the very least, he would be able to break through to the small perfection blue-robed emperor immediately. The tall mountains and the ground were all destroyed. After searching for a long time, Xiaochen could not find the ancestral vein's origin. However, he did find several traces of the evil dragons leaving. Half a day later, Xiaochen opened his heavenly eye again. The landscape was the most intact on a slope 50 kilometers to the east. It should be easier to find some things there. Xiaochen pushed off with his feet and flew in the water. His strong speed nearly split the seawater in half, creating a vacuum. When Xiaochen landed on the slope, he looked ahead. To others, the terrain appeared chaotic and confusing. However, when he compared it to the Paradise Secret Canon, many scenes flashed in his mind. As Xiaochen looked around, the scene slowly became clearer and more complete. "That should be the place," Xiaochen said softly as he used his heavenly eye to look at the terrain tens of thousands of kilometers away. A dragon returning to its head, 1,000 mountains surrounding it, and evidence from all directions. Finding the ancestral vein's origin in a situation where the terrain was nearly completely destroyed was not easy. Xiaochen closed his heavenly eye, intending to go over and verify it one last time. Then he could follow the vein and find the Holy Spirit vein that grew from this ancestral vein. As for spirit veins of other grades, they did not interest Xiaochen for now, so there was no need to waste any effort. Rumble. Just at this moment, a strange phenomenon occurred. Countless blood-colored bubbles surged upwards. Xiaochen's heart tightened as an extremely bad feeling welled up in his heart. A strange roar came from the distance. Xiaochen's body trembled uncontrollably, as if he had met his natural enemy. A bone-deep fear prevented him from doing anything. How can it be like this? What's going on? What in the world is coming? Xiaochen panicked. It was extremely difficult for him to do anything. He could not even lift his eyelids, much less activate the freedom wings. Xiaochen knelt at the bottom of the sea as that mysterious monster approached. He felt that if he still did not do anything, he would really die here. Ao Jiao quickly flew out and pulled Xiaochen away, preparing to break out of the water with Xiaochen. If you don't want him to die, it's best not to move. Just as Ao Jiao was about to circulate her energy to bring Xiaochen away, an old man suddenly appeared. He formed hand seals and many flags flew out from his body. The flags covered the heavenly mysteries and protected this world. Rumble. Rumble. The scarlet bubbles surged up even more violently. The entire Scarlet Sea was surging, looking extremely horrifying. When that mysterious thing arrived, Xiaochen felt like the little blue dragon in his dantian was carrying a mountain. The pressure was extremely painful. Xiaochen felt even more miserable. This was his first time encountering such a thing. He was shocked. After the panic, he tried his best to calm himself down. What exactly is it that makes my body tremble in fear, making the Yuanying blue dragon martial spirit tremble in fear? I have to get to the bottom of this. Otherwise, it will be a huge problem for me. Xiaochen felt like that mysterious thing circled the Scarlet Sea for a long time, like it was searching for something. After a long time, it quickly went far away. When everything calmed down, Xiaochen blinked and recovered to normal. Then he turned around and looked warily at the person who saved him. When Xiaochen saw this person's appearance, he felt somewhat surprised. It was actually the Geomaster that the Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor invited, Jiang Tian, the person that Yuan Qinghuan called the strongest Geomaster. Ao Jiao stood beside Xiao Chen, looking warily at the other party as well. This person had suddenly appeared. She could not figure out his intentions. Jiang Tian ignored the wariness of the two. He carefully put away the worldly wind water flags and gestured for Xiao Chen to break out of the sea, indicating for him to go out and speak. Waves splashed up as Xiao Chen and Ao Jiao broke out of the sea together. Ao Jiao asked anxiously, "Xiao Chen, are you all right?" Xiao Chen had not suffered any substantial damage earlier, so he shook his head to indicate that he was fine. Ao Jiao checked for herself. After she verified that he was fine, she relaxed. Splash! Jiang Tian broke out of the water and looked coldly at Xiao Chen. He said indifferently, "You managed to cultivate the heavenly eye. It looks like you obtained the Yuan clan's dragon-seeking art. Were you the one who used a spell to disrupt me from looking at the stars yesterday?" This person had a dignified aura. His cultivation was clearly much lower than Xiao Chen's, only Grandmaster-level martial sage. However, when he spoke, he was aloof, looking down on Xiao Chen. He did not care about Xiao Chen, a mere blue-robed emperor. However, this person was very natural, giving Xiao Chen a lot of pressure. This was the natural aura of a major character. No matter how the weak tried to imitate it, they would not be able to imitate it. Xiao Chen nodded calmly. There was nothing to deny. Jiang Tian snorted coldly and said, "You are really daring to do anything. Perhaps I really should not have saved you earlier. It would have been better to let that Ho ghost eat you up." Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows and asked, "You know what that thing is?" "There are very few things in this world that I do not know about. That is a Ho, an ancient ferocious beast that feeds on dragons. It eats dragon brains and swallows dragon marrow. Killing dragons is like squashing earthworms. It is the natural enemy of all dragons. 10,000 years ago, if not for the Qing Emperor killing it, leaving behind only a scattered soul, you would have died here even if you had 8 lives." Jiang Tian said unhurriedly with a cold smile on his face. Unexpectedly, dragons had a natural enemy. Furthermore, it was such a tyrannical natural enemy. This was the first time Xiao Chen heard of this. Xiao Chen finally understood why his body trembled in fear, feeling so powerless. He was the Blue Dragon King. He possessed the Blue Dragon martial spirit, and cultivated the Blue Dragon body nourishing art. Whether he was willing or not, the mark of a dragon was deeply ingrained in his bones. He could not wash it off no matter what. Fortunately, the Qing Emperor killed it, leaving only its soul. What did it come here for? Xiao Chen asked as he met Jiang Tian's gaze. He felt that this person before him gave off a mysterious feeling. Indeed, as Jiang Tian said, he was omniscient. Naturally, it smelled a dragon and wanted to eat that 9-star evil dragon to recover its strength. Jiang Tian replied indifferently. Jiang Tian replied indifferently and said in a cold voice, "Since we are done with the small talk, take out the divine grade black patterned gold that you obtained from the auction in Cloud Treasure City." "What for? This old man saved your life. Do you think it was for nothing?" Xiao Chen was speechless. This was the first time he met such a tyrannical person. He did not seem to have asked for help. However, even if Xiao Chen wanted to, he could not hand over the divine grade black pattern gold. He had already merged it into the dragon revealing mirror. Ao Jiao, who was at the side, could no longer watch this. She scolded angrily. "You old fellow, you are too shameless. How can you do this, forcefully saving someone, and then demanding something?" Xiao Chen waved his hand to stop Ao Jiao. Then he took out the dragon revealing mirror, which gave off a divine aura, and handed it to Jiang Tian. "I already used the divine grade black pattern gold. If you want it, you can refine this dragon revealing mirror." Ao Jiao was so anxious that her eyes turned red. The dragon revealing mirror was crucial to whether Xiao Chen could subdue the Holy Spirit vein. How could he just give it away like that? Jiang Tian received the dragon revealing mirror with a slightly dissatisfied expression. He commented, "The craftsmanship is pretty good. This dragon revealing mirror ranks among the top 10 dragon-seeking secret treasures. Unfortunately, I do not know the Paradise Secret Canon, so I cannot activate it. I can only treat it as trash and melt it down. Even so, I can only take out half of the divine grade black pattern gold. Chapter 1089. It's Esozo. Consider this a pass. There is also the azure underworld fruit. Your soul is not injured. Don't tell me that you used it already. Take it out as well. Xiao Chen's expression changed as he stopped Ao Jiao, who was about to fly into a rage. He said calmly, I'm sorry about this. I have indeed used it. If old sir has any other requests, you can state them all. I have 10 million black astral coins, a holy spirit vein, an emperor-grade secret treasure, Neptune's crown, an incomplete immortal equipment, the beautiful mountain and river painting. Xiao Chen did not like owing favors, especially to people he did not like. If he could settle things with them, he would do so as soon as possible. Precious treasures came out of Xiao Chen's mouth, but Jiang Tian remained unmoved. He interrupted impatiently. Don't treat trash as treasure. How laughable. I only want the azure underworld fruit. Xiao Chen's expression changed. Which one of the things in his hand would not make the blue-robed emperor risk his life for it? To think that this fellow was lying through his teeth. Jiang Tian glanced at Ao Jiao. Then he said in understanding, so it was refined by you, the item spirit. No wonder you were unable to hand it over. Looking at your eyes, it seems like you do not feel that your body is full of trash. Country bumpkin, you are looking at the sky from the bottom of a well. I can't be bothered to argue with you. I'll return your dragon revealing mirror. Now you have to help me with something before you can repay this favor. Xiao Chen did not know what was going on. What exactly was this Jiang Tian thinking? He could not figure it out at all. Xiao Chen did not accept the dragon revealing mirror. He frowned and said, I do have to repay this favor. However, I still have something to do. Time is limited. If Mr. Jiang keeps pestering me, I can only put this favor aside for now. Goodbye. Jiang Tian smiled coldly and said, something to do? Do you think that after learning the half-baked paradise secret canon, you can subdue and suppress spirit veins all over the world to help you gather the resources for the blue-robed emperor to cultivate? Indeed, you have some advantages. You are as strong as the great perfection blue-robed emperor, and do not need the cooperation of cultivators to suppress spirit veins. However, if you really think that, you are too naive. Xiao Chen turned around and looked at the other party with a serious expression. What do you mean? Jiang Tian smiled and said, I am certain that you have not finished reading the first part of the Paradise Secret Canon, that is not directly related to the dragon-seeking secret technique. Otherwise you would not ask that. Xiao Chen's heart sank. The contents of the first part were all messy records. It had nothing to do with the dragon-seeking secret skill. He had indeed only read the beginning and skipped over it. It wasn't that he couldn't concentrate, but he didn't have much time. He really couldn't spend it on these unimportant things. Senior, if you have something to say, just say it. Jiang Tian did not answer. Instead, he said with a cold expression, pick up your dragon revealing mirror, and obediently follow me to do something. Otherwise, not to mention becoming a martial emperor in 5 years, if you really do as you wish, you might not even live for a year. Ao Jiao muttered in a soft voice, acting all mysterious. Jiang Tian directly ignored her. He looked at the silent Xiao Chen and said, do you really want to die that much? Or are you in a rush to subdue a holy spirit vein 50,000 kilometers away? It is just a holy spirit vein. So what if I give you one? Whoosh! Golden rain fell from the sky. A roaming dragon flew out of Jiang Tian's body and danced in the air, calling the wind and summoning the rain. This was a bona fide holy spirit vein. Xiao Chen made up his mind. He opened his mouth and swallowed this holy spirit vein. Then he closed his eyes and refined it. As the holy spirit vein was refined, the thousands of motes of liquid that formed the heavenly seal slowly turned corporeal, gaining some texture. It no longer looked as soft as before. The entire dragon-shaped heavenly seal's silhouette became much more solid. Xiao Chen's cultivation had improved significantly. After a while, Xiao Chen opened his eyes and picked up the dragon-revealing mirror on the sea. Then he said to the strange Jiang Tian, I'll come with you. At least you have some boldness. Otherwise, it would be useless to bring you over. Come with me to meet a few people first. Jiang Tian turned around expressionlessly. Xiaochen quickly followed and asked, "Who are you meeting?" "A true geomaster." "A true geomaster?" Xiaochen felt somewhat dizzy. Many geomasters regarded Jiang Tian as the strongest geomaster. After the Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor invited him out, all the geomasters lost their fighting spirit. Such a person definitely lived up to his reputation. However, now Jiang Tian said that he wanted to bring Xiaochen to meet a true geomaster. Could it be that there were stronger geomasters than him? Xiaochen could not suppress the doubts in his heart. He could not help feeling curious about this strange Jiang Tian, who did not play by the rules. "Senior, aren't you known as the strongest geomaster? Could it be that you are not a true geomaster? Are there people who are stronger than you in seeking dragons and fixing veins?" Jiang Tian mocked. "That group of geomasters only have the title of geomaster. What kind of geomaster are they? They are not even comparable to a half-baked person like you. To think that they are not embarrassed to call themselves geomasters? I never said that I was the strongest geomaster. When we get there later, keep your eyes open and don't speak nonsense. You have no right to speak there." Jiang Tian's words always had a hint of arrogance. Xiaochen did not feel convinced. However, when he thought about how even the Soul Hegemon Mountain Manor's manor lord was polite to Jiang Tian, he could not help but feel unconvinced. The other party's circle was much higher than Xiaochen's. Hence, he could only teach Jiang Tian a lesson. Xiaochen had a proud character, but he was not an ignorant fanatic who showed off his arrogance. He had always been respectful and knew how to endure and learn, carefully walking the path of cultivation. For now, Xiaochen wanted to see what Jiang Tian was up to. Furthermore, Jiang Tian said earlier that Xiaochen was too naive. He had to figure out why. Xiaochen said, "Very well, I won't ask about that. However, I already promised you. Now, you have to tell me what you want to do, right? If you can give me the divine grade black pattern gold and the azure underworld fruit, I won't care where you go. If you can't give them to me, don't ask. Someone will tell you when we get there." Jiang Tian said without even turning his head as he strode forward. "Never mind. If I don't want to ask, then so be it." Xiaochen followed behind Jiang Tian. At the same time, he took some time to carefully study the fourth section of the Paradise Secret Canon, Prison Drawing. Prison Drawing mainly emphasized the practical secret techniques of the Paradise Secret Canon. When cultivated to a high level, one could change the world with a wave of one's hand. If one wanted to cultivate this series of secret techniques, one had to cultivate the Paradise Divine Art first. This cultivation technique was split into 7 layers. The cultivation of the Paradise Divine Art required one's usage of the Heavenly Eye to reach a certain level. Xiaochen asked himself if he could already control the Heavenly Eye as he pleased. He could open and close the Heavenly Eye as he pleased. He could also focus his gaze to see even further away. He could also use the Heavenly Eye to distinguish between illusion and reality. Xiaochen should have already met the cultivation requirements of the Paradise Divine Art. It was time to make preparations to cultivate it. Jiang Tian, who was walking in front, turned his head back and saw that Xiaochen did not relax even as he walked. It seemed like Xiaochen was making good use of his time to cultivate. No matter how much Jiang Tian looked down on Xiaochen, it was rare for someone of the younger generation to have such patience and perseverance. After walking for half a day, a lone island appeared before Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian immediately went up, and Xiaochen followed close behind. Xiaochen collected his thoughts and carefully sized up the island. There was already an old man seated cross-legged on the island. When the old man heard the footsteps, he opened his eyes and sized up Xiaochen, who was behind Jiang Tian. Then he smiled and said, "Jiang Tian, since when did you start taking in disciples?" Jiang Tian replied indifferently, "I already swore that I would never take in a disciple in this lifetime. I will not break the rules of the geomasters." "Ah, how unfortunate. You have no children, and you do not want to take in disciples. Your bloodline is probably going to end soon," the old man said with a smile. "Cut the crap." Clearly, Jiang Tian was not willing to discuss this topic. He directly said, Let me introduce first. This is Xiaochen, the Blue Dragon King personally appointed by the Thunder King. He is the culprit behind the appearance of the 9-star evil dragon this time. Xiaochen felt that he was not in a position to speak, so he did not argue, tacitly agreeing. Following that, Jiang Tian introduced this old man. This old man was called Bai Mingfeng, a hidden geomaster. Ordinary people would not know this name. After the introductions, the two started chatting, leaving Xiaochen at the side. Xiaochen did not interrupt, listening calmly. From the contents of the two's conversation, he roughly understood what Jiang Tian wanted him to do. When the 9-star evil dragon appeared, it needed to find another dragon cave with a king spirit vein to survive. Then, it needed to kill and swallow up the original king spirit vein. If that were all, it would not be a big deal. What the two geomasters worried about was the mysterious phenomenon of 9 stars aligning and a rain of blood falling from the sky when the evil dragon appeared. The 9-star evil dragon had already mutated and metamorphosed again, becoming the legendary 10-star evil dragon. It would continue swallowing until it swallowed up all the king spirit veins in the entire heavenly starry ocean. This would result in a calamity that might even threaten the 3 ancestor veins of the heavenly starry ocean, wiping out the spiritual energy of the heavenly starry ocean, and turning it into a wasteland. Is it that serious? Xiaochen could not help interrupting as he listened at the side. Jiang Tian smiled coldly and said, "How do you think those desolate seas formed on the sea chart? There are precedents for this. In the end, you are the one who caused this calamity. If you cannot take out the divine grade black patterned gold and the azure underworld fruit, then just obediently help me suppress and seal this evil dragon." Bai Mingfeng frowned and asked, "What can he help us with?" "Leave that Ho ghost to him to deal with. Leave the rest to us," Jiang Tian said indifferently. What the heck? Xiaochen originally thought that the other party was interested in his Paradise secret canon. He had not expected that Jiang Tian wanted him to deal with the Ho ghost. Bai Mingfeng reacted and smiled. "Yes indeed, only he can deal with that darn thing." Xiaochen said awkwardly, "Senior is joking, right?" When the Ho ghost passed by, Xiaochen could not even move. How could he deal with it? Jiang Tian retorted rudely, "Back then, the Qing Emperor could kill the Ho even at his peak. You are the descendant of the Qing Emperor. Don't tell me that you cannot deal with a Ho ghost that has turned into a soul. Don't worry. Your body already endured the terrifying might and pressure once. It will be better the second time." Seeing that Xiaochen still hesitated, Jiang Tian said coldly, "No matter what method you think of, you have to block that Ho ghost. This fellow is even more of a threat than the evil dragon." Chapter 1090. Once this is done, I'll help you get the Saint Spirit vein you want. If we fail, I'll make it clear to you that you will not be alive to collect the Holy Spirit vein hidden at the bottom of the sea. Xiaochen smiled bitterly to himself. Now that he had boarded a pirate ship, he had no choice but to agree. Footsteps resounded, and 2 old men walked over to the lone island. The 2 old men glanced at Xiaochen and ignored him. They said calmly, "We found the tracks of that evil dragon. We have to be fast. Otherwise, it will find the first king spirit vein in less than 3 days. Let's go." Bai Mingfeng and Jiang Tian were swift and decisive. They immediately stood up and left, quickly following the 2 old men. The 4 old men rode the wind, merging with the world. Their speed was even faster than Xiaochen's. "Xiaochen, these people are hidden geomasters. The matter of the 10-star evil dragon should be true," Ao Jiao said from the immortal spirit ring. Xiaochen nodded, agreeing with Ao Jiao's opinion. These 4 geomasters were all extraordinary, unfathomable, much more brilliant than he was. "How much do you think we can trust Jiang Tian's words?" Xiaochen asked. Ao Jiao thought for a while and said somewhat dispiritedly, "This old man is very hateful, completely unfathomable. However, I feel that his words are somewhat trustworthy. It was better to trust him than not. After this matter was over, let's see what reasoning he can come up with." "We've arrived." The 2 old men at the front stopped and said. Xiaochen looked around. The sea stretched as far as the eye could see. All he could see was a flat sea. The sky and the sea merged into one. He could not see the end. There was not even an island. Stand to the side. When that Ho ghost smells it, it will definitely chase after us. Just remember not to let that ghostly thing block us. Jiang Tian directed Xiao Chen to stand far away. Then, together with Bai Mingfeng, he explained to the other two old men, dispelling their doubts. Open! The four old men made a gesture and shouted softly. The seawater was like a curtain, slowly pulling open from the middle. Soon, the whole picture of the seabed was directly exposed to their vision. A huge scarlet dragon lay quietly at the bottom of the sea, coldly eyeing the four geomasters in the air. A great battle was about to break out. In the distance, Xiao Chen sighed in amazement at the means of these geomasters. With their combined strength, they were actually able to easily split apart the seawater, intending to suppress this dragon alone. Four geomasters chanted their incantations in the vast seabed. As they waved their hands, the topography of the seabed changed rapidly. Like the work of the gods, all sorts of strangely shaped mountains rose into the air, forming different landforms and suppressing the blood dragon. After Xiao Chen figured out these people's intentions, he could not help but praise them in his heart. These four old geomasters were actually thinking of using manpower to create a dragon cave to bury this dragon. Gulp gulp. The sound of bubbles resounded. Xiao Chen lowered his head to take a look, and his expression could not help but change. Trouble had arrived. It's coming. As the bubbles churned, fog rose from the surface of the sea. Xiao Chen thought to himself as he looked into the distance. The natural enemy of dragons, the ancient mutated beast Ho. It eats dragon brains and dragon marrow. It kills dragons like crushing earthworms. Let me see what exactly it looks like. A green figure walked out of the fog. Xiao Chen could not see it clearly at all. That green figure flew past him, heading for the blood dragon at the bottom of the huge pit behind him. It was like the Ho ghost saw an incredibly delicious delicacy, luring it to charge over without a care for anything else. The four geomasters used their dragon-seeking arts to create a dragon vein, a tall mountain, and a long river. Tall mountains rose into the air, crisscrossing each other as they suppressed this 10-star evil dragon. The two sides exchanged blows, fighting intensely. When the Ho ghost appeared, the evil dragon trembled in fear. Its eyes filled with horror. However, the four geomasters ignored the Ho ghost, continuing to do what they were doing as if they did not see it. They even took advantage of the evil dragon's fear to raise many tall mountains, stacking them like building blocks to suppress the blood dragon. Tens of kilometers away, Xiao Chen, who was on the surface of the sea, felt very puzzled. What was going on? The Ho ghost, which was charging at the evil dragon, suddenly turned around and stopped in midair. It stared at Xiao Chen and gave off a jade-green light. Its gaze was filled with boundless hatred. This overwhelming hatred caused it to ignore its favorite delicacy, not caring about it at all. Xiao Chen finally saw the Ho ghost's appearance clearly. Its body was like a horse, and its entire body was jade-green. However, its four hooves were slender beast claws with incredibly sharp claws. Its head was like a lion's and had sharp fangs. Although it was a soul, Xiao Chen could not feel any pressure from it. This was an ethereal soul. Xiao Chen felt that something was wrong. This was especially so for the four geomasters. They completely ignored the Ho ghost behind them, as if they were certain that this Ho ghost would not harm them. Damn. I got betrayed. When Xiao Chen reacted, he could not help cursing. Then he turned around and ran. How was he relying on himself to deal with this Ho ghost? They were simply using him as bait to attract the Ho ghost's attention. The Qing Emperor had destroyed the physical body of the Ho ghost. After becoming the Qing Emperor, Xiao Chen had awakened the blue dragon martial spirit. When this Ho ghost soul saw Xiao Chen, it was like it saw the person who killed its father. No wonder that Bai Mingfeng smiled so strangely, saying that only he could deal with the Ho ghost. It turned out that this was what he was thinking. Fortunately, it was as Jiang Tian said. After his body experienced the initial fear, it had already adapted to this Ho ghost of the dragon world. Otherwise, this group of old fellows would have tricked Xiao Chen to death. A strange roar came from behind Xiao Chen, and a shock wave surged over. The seawater under Xiao Chen's feet shattered and rumbled endlessly. Xiao Chen did not dare to turn his head. The shock wave brushed against his back. As he ran, the seawater behind him shattered and chased him closely. Bang! The sound wave caught up to Xiaochen. Xiaochen's body was blasted into the air, and he vomited a large mouthful of blood. There was no time to complain. Xiaochen spread the freedom wings and soared into the air, not daring to fight this Ho ghost at all. Just one roar could injure him. If Xiaochen still believed Jiang Tian's nonsense, he would really be an idiot. He said that the Qing Emperor could kill the Ho at its peak. As the descendant of the Qing Emperor, how could Xiaochen not be able to deal with this soul? What a joke. What could Xiaochen deal with? They were not even on the same level. This Ho ghost had lived for tens of thousands of years and devoured countless spirit veins. Even if it was not at its peak, it had at least 1% of its strength. It was definitely not something that Xiaochen could deal with now. Facing the pursuing Ho ghost, Xiaochen had no other choice but to run as far as possible. As he ran, Xiaochen noticed a strange phenomenon. Several times, when the Ho ghost was clearly about to catch up, he could already hear its heavy breathing. However, it suddenly stopped. Its eyes showed a conflicted expression, like it was resisting some order. While fleeing, Xiaochen could not be bothered to think too much. As he faced that layered roar, his heart felt like it would leap out at any moment. Xiaochen's internal organs trembled, and cracks appeared in them. The sound waves inflicted direct internal injuries. At this rate, even if the Ho ghost could not catch up to him, it could still use the sound waves to kill him. Use the reincarnation lamp. Ao Jiao quickly reminded from the immortal spirit ring. Xiaochen suddenly startled awake. No matter how strong you are still a ghost without a physical body. The reincarnation lamp is specialized in dealing with evil spirits. It should have a restraining effect. Xiaochen flipped his palm, and the reincarnation lamp soared into the air. Then he vomited a mouthful of essence blood and lit the lamp wick. The image of an immortal appeared in the hazy flame and started chanting the Taoist scriptures, dealing with the horrifying sound waves of the Ho ghost. It seemed to have some effect. The deafening roars disappeared. Xiaochen heaved a sigh of relief and swallowed a medicinal pill to treat his internal injuries. Xiaochen did not look back, leaving the reincarnation lamp hanging in the air as he continued running. As Xiaochen ran for his life, he did not know how far he had run. Eventually, he felt incredibly tired, so he stopped in front of the sea and panted continuously. Before Xiaochen could catch his breath, he vomited a mouthful of blood. His mind was severely injured. The reincarnation lamp that helped him block the Ho ghost in the distance actually shattered. Just at this moment, the 4 geomasters appeared at the same time, all of them significantly injured. Jiang Tian pulled Xiaochen up and said, "Let's go." The 4 geomasters executed their arts at the same time. The world changed, and the seawater became like a huge mouth, swallowing up the 5 at the same time. Then it became as smooth as a mirror, becoming whole again. When the Ho ghost, which had rushed over, saw Xiaochen vanishing without a trace, it roared in anger. The seawater shattered like a mirror, giving off loud bangs. Boom. When the 5 reappeared, they were already 500 kilometers away, on a desolate island that no one could find. They were now completely safe. Jiang Tian put down Xiaochen and revealed a rare smile. He said, "You did pretty well. You successfully escaped and helped us suppress the evil dragon. You truly live up to your name as the Blue Dragon King, the descendant of the Qing Emperor, the Prime Thunder King." However, Jiang Tian's pale complexion made this smile look extremely unsightly. The other 3 were also very weak. Bai Mingfeng rushed to say, "Jiang Tian, we already helped you settle the trouble you caused. You just have to explain the rest to this little fellow." After saying that, Bai Mingfeng left. The other 2 old men also left after saying some simple words. Jiang Tian tossed a piece of vellum to Xiaochen and said indifferently, "You should go as well. The answers you want are in there." Xiaochen caught the vellum but did not look at it. Instead, he looked coldly at Jiang Tian, a murderous intent flashing in his eyes. "What, you want to make a move on me? Haha. I advise you not to have such thoughts. Otherwise, you will die very miserably." "Oh, I was wrong. You won't die. On account of the Thunder King, no major character would dare to kill you." Jiang Tian did not fear Xiao Chen's gaze at all. He said calmly, "You should take a look at the vellum first." Xiao Chen opened the vellum with some bewilderment in his eyes. There was a complete map of the sea on the vellum. When Xiao Chen looked carefully, all the dragon caves with Holy Spirit veins were marked on it. However, they were all drawn in bright red, looking very ghastly. Jiang Tian said unhurriedly, "Now you understand why I told you to search for Holy Spirit veins all over the world. You will not survive more than a year, right?" Chapter 1091. This is the perilous land of all the Holy Spirit veins in the heavenly starry ocean. With your eyesight, you will not be able to tell if they are real or fake. As long as you run into any one of them, you will most likely die. Xiao Chen did not say anything, just looking at it. Indeed, he felt his hair stand on end. In his anxiety, he would not be able to avoid misjudging the situation. As long as he made one mistake, he would really die. This is a map of the distribution of spirit veins that the four of us geomasters drew when we roamed the world. How many you can subdue will depend on your own ability. Then Jiang Tian handed Xiao Chen a piece of vellum. Similarly, there were many Holy Spirit veins marked on it. It was very detailed and clear at a glance. In just an instant, Xiao Chen understood the value of this second map. It was simply a priceless treasure. Xiao Chen asked doubtfully, "Why are you helping me?" Jiang Tian replied calmly, "It's still the same thing. Only you can deal with the Ho ghost. 10,000 years ago, the Qing Emperor could kill its physical body. 10,000 years later, its soul will definitely be yours to kill. We are true geomasters, masters of the earth. Protecting the balance of this world will always be our most basic responsibility. The Ho ghost is the most uncertain factor that will break this balance." It was hard to imagine that this old man before him would say something like that. Xiao Chen thought for a while before saying, "Senior, you mentioned the Ho ghost. I have something to say. I feel that someone is controlling the Ho ghost." When Jiang Tian heard that, he was stunned. Then he smiled and said, "What kind of creature is the Ho?" "It is an ancient mutated beast. Killing dragons is like killing earthworms. Even if it dies and only its soul remains, it cannot be controlled." Jiang Tian's words were very certain. Thinking about it, the demon ghost was already so powerful. If it could still be controlled, how horrifying would the master behind it be? Even so, Xiao Chen still had doubts in his heart. Earlier, when the Ho ghost chased after him, he had seen a struggling expression in its eyes several times. This was definitely not wrong. If not for someone controlling it and ordering it to swallow up that evil dragon, which conflicted with its decision to kill Xiao Chen. How could he explain this? Jiang Tian said indifferently, "Don't overthink this. You should focus on how you are going to advance to martial emperor within 5 years. Before I leave, I'll give you a word of advice. Fortune and misfortune are hard to predict. The matters of the world are like the feng shui of this world. There is never a set that stays the same. Good and bad are unpredictable. I won't beat around the bush either. I'll make it clear to you. It looks like you're in a dead end, unable to advance to martial emperor in 5 years. Then, like a meteor, you will vanish in a flash, turning into dust and disappearing. However, in reality, even without the matter of biological lifespan, you still need to become a martial emperor within 5 years. Otherwise, only death awaits you." Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly. He looked at the strange old man and asked, "What do you mean?" Jiang Tian said unhurriedly, "How long do you think the Thunder King can live? There are no martial gods in this world, and no one can live forever. The Thunder King has already lived for over 10,000 years, and every day he lives is a life-defying heaven. If the Thunder King is not around, how can a single Haotian emperor protect you? Before a true major character, killing you would still take only one finger. Now that something like this happened, it gives you a sense of urgency. Advancing to martial emperor within 5 years also increases your chances. Who knows if this is a fortune or a disaster?" Xiao Chen's heart sank. Then he smiled and said, "I never thought of it that way before. Now that I think about it, it is indeed as Senior said. Fortune and misfortune come together. Goodbye." Jiang Tian left as soon as he said he would, not dragging his feet at all. In the blink of an eye, he vanished from Xiao Chen's sight. Xiao Chen unfurled the 2 sheets of vellum. One represented life, which recorded all the Holy Spirit veins that the 4 Geomasters discovered. The other represented death. It recorded all sorts of strange and unfathomable situations that could kill Emperor Wu. Touching them meant certain death. After a while, Xiao Chen grasped the 2 sheets of vellum tightly. Regular Geomasters were limited by their cultivation. It would be difficult for them to subdue a dragon vein by themselves, or deal with the various hidden ferocious beasts. Xiao Chen possessed the combat prowess of the great perfection blue-robed emperor, and the dragon-fixing needle and dragon-revealing mirror. With these 2 dragon-seeking secret treasures, he could subdue a spirit vein by himself. Heaven would never seal off all paths. There would always be a chance of survival. This was Xiao Chen's chance of survival. Xiao Chen's figure flashed, and he vanished into the vast sea. He left for a long time. There was no news of the Blue Dragon King in the heavenly starry sea. No one knew where the Blue Dragon King had gone. The Zodiac Hall and the Divine Dragon Palaces of the 4 seas sent scouts everywhere. However, they could not find Xiao Chen's location. Rumors spread everywhere, and different versions of the story spread everywhere. Some said that Xiao Chen went to the Prenglai Sea, which no one knew the way, to search for spirit herbs that could resolve his problems. Others said that Xiao Chen went to the Kunlun continent to seek help from the Thunder King. There were also people who said that Xiao Chen scattered his cultivation to live past 100 years, becoming an ordinary person and completely disappearing, never to appear again. However, as time went by, people slowly stopped talking about Xiao Chen. After all, he was a genius who was past his prime. There was no point in talking about him. This was especially so when the news of the solar holy sun and the lunar holy daughter breaking through to the blue-robed emperor at the same time came out from the Zodiac Hall. This made everyone forget about Xiao Chen's existence. Everyone turned to discussing the rumors about Chu Yang and Fu Hongyao. Shocking news spread out from the Zodiac Hall. When the solar holy sun and the lunar holy sun worked together, they could already defeat a great perfection blue-robed emperor of the older generation. They could even easily defeat a small perfection blue-robed emperor alone. News continued to spread. As a prime, the cyclic astral emperor, Emperor Wu, had already taken out all the accumulations of the immortal Holy Land that the Zodiac Hall had accumulated over tens of thousands of years. The cyclic astral emperor personally guided the 2 in their cultivation, preparing for the 2 to reach the small perfection blue-robed emperor realm before the 4 seas hero gathering, completely suppressing the other immortal holy lands. However, things were not that simple. Not only did these 2 obtain great fortuitous encounters on the road to burying emperors, the holy scions of the other holy lands did not fall behind. The myriad fiend islands Di Xinhan, the Heavenly Province Academy's young master Qingshu, the 5 poison sects Fang Xiaojun, and the Yinyang Paradise's Tong Susu all broke through to the blue-robed emperor realm at different times. Immediately, the entire heavenly starry ocean surged with excitement. Everyone felt anticipation for the 4 seas hero gathering, which was about to begin in 10 months. With so many outstanding youths breaking through to the blue-robed emperor realm together, the 4 seas hero gathering, which happened once every 20 years, had not been so lively in the past 10,000 years. There were even some busybodies who started to make bets in the periphery, betting on who could stand out and suppress all the outstanding talents to obtain the Lunar Palace's greatest gift, the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet. Aside from the immortal Holy Land's holy sons and holy daughters, the most popular ones were the veteran experts of the previous 4 seas hero gathering. As long as one was not over 50 years old, one could continue to participate in the 4 seas hero gathering. Cultivators had an average lifespan of 300 years. A 50-year-old person did not look old, and could be considered a youth. Several of the experts of the previous 4 seas hero gathering were in their 20s when they participated. Now that they had passed their 20s, they were still a few years away from turning 50, so they did not violate the rules. In reality, the biggest attraction of every 4 seas hero gathering was the competition between the old and the new outstanding talents. In every 4 seas hero gathering, There would be a newcomer making a strong debut and becoming famous. There were also veteran outstanding talents who retained their glory and fame. However, this time it was a golden age. The outstanding talents of the new generation all came with a ferocious aura. Some people guessed that the veteran outstanding talents would be wiped out if nothing unexpected happened. All that remained to be seen was whether a miracle would happen or not. Perhaps a strong dark horse would appear out of nowhere. Anything was possible. In the Western Sea, the Blue Dragon Kings conferred base, Heavenly Star Island. Under the management of Lan Xiaobai and Kim Taeho's group, the three holy masters' land nearly turned this place into a desolate island. Lan Xiaobai used the peak spirit vein that Xiao Chun gave him to rebuild the city at the top of the mountain. Then he formed guards to maintain order in the city. Kim Taeho opened up another path. With Neptune's former subordinates, the 7 heroes of the dragon, blocking the way, Xiao Chun opened up a trade route to the Black Sea. Opening the trade route to the Black Sea had completely revitalized the island's economy, allowing ordinary mortals to have an excellent life. Ordinary people did not matter in the world of cultivators. Just a martial monarch could kill a large number of them. However, the foundation of this world was made up of ordinary people. Geniuses came from ordinary people. Not only did they bring prosperity, but they also brought hope. As long as a sect was established and nurtured properly, these ordinary people would be able to accumulate strength quickly through systematic training. At this moment, Lan Xiaobai, Kim Taeho, Yu Chenxi, Lord Jiu, and the others gathered in a palace on the tallest peak of Heavenly Star Island. Aside from Lan Xiaobai, everyone else frowned heavily, showing depressed expressions. Yu Chenxi asked, "Debao, there is still no news of Xiao Chen." Kim Taeho shook his head and replied, "No. The last time he appeared was at the Northern Sea Alliance. After that, there was no news of him at all. I spent a lot of money in the Black Sea, but I did not manage to buy any news of him." When the others heard that, they all sighed softly. They had managed Heavenly Star Island for Xiao Chen. However, the master of Heavenly Star Island was currently missing. How could they not feel at ease? This was especially so for the people present. They all had pretty good relationships with Xiao Chen, and were worthy of being called friends. They were more concerned about his life or death than anyone else. Lan Xiaobai, who already had the air of a leader, smiled faintly and said, "This is actually a good thing. If we cannot find him, those people who want to harm him will not be able to find him, either. This proves that Xiao Chun is at least safe." However, the news of Xiao Chun not advancing to martial emperor in 5 years spread like wildfire, making it hard for us to feel at ease. Lord Jiu did not understand how to read people's expressions, so he said what everyone was most unwilling to say. The others immediately looked at him. Old Nine said blankly, "Did I say something wrong?" This Lord Jiu did not say anything wrong. He only has 20 years to live. Kim Taeho folded his golden folding fan and wrapped it on Lord Jiu's head. He scolded, "Do you know how to speak properly? Are you forcing this fat lord to make a move?" Melancholy flashed in Lan Xiaobai's eyes. He waved his hand and said, "Let's not talk about this anymore. Without seeing Xiao Chun, we can't take it seriously." Dong, dong, dong. Just at this moment, footsteps came from outside the door. A disciple entered and reported, "Young Master Lan, there is a blue-robed emperor outside Blue Dragon City with many cultivators, requesting to enter the city." Lan Xiaobai's face turned cold. He suddenly stood up and said, "That group of people from the 7 heroes of the dragon is here to cause trouble again. This is really never-ending. You go and invite Elder Qin over. I'll go and take a look." Chapter 1092. As of now, Lan Xiaobai's cultivation had not fallen behind at all on Heavenly Star Island. He had already become a great Grandmaster level martial sage long ago, only a hair's breadth away from the blue-robed emperor. Together with the Azura race's strong spatial talent, an ordinary blue-robed emperor might not be a match for him. "No, it's a girl wearing a veil. She said her name is Emo Chun." "Emo Chun?" Lan Xiaobai muttered to himself, as though he had never heard of this name before. He said, "Debao, I'll leave this person's background to you. You have to give me the answer within half a day." That should be fine, right? Kim Tae-ho smiled and said, I can tell you now. That is the top beauty of the Cloud Sea domain. Xiaochen appeared there for a period of time before. It seems like he even had some interaction with this girl. Don't worry. She is definitely not an enemy. As for Xiaochen's whereabouts, Kim Tae-ho had always been in charge of Heavenly Star Island. Hence, when Kim Tae-ho heard Mo Chen's name, he immediately recalled her. Lan Xiaobai revealed a slightly interested expression. He smiled and said, It looks like something good is coming. There is no need to invite Elder Qin over. Come with me to meet this Miss Mo Chen. Outside the vast Blue Dragon City at the foot of the mountain, Mo Chen led the 10-peak blacksmiths of the Mo clan to admire the majestic city walls. First, miss, is this place our new home? An old blacksmith asked with some joy as he looked at Blue Dragon City. Right now, the deaths of the 8 blue-robed emperors in the Cloud Sea domain had brought about chaos. All the major factions had sent their experts over, intending to redistribute their territories. In the great chaos, human life was like grass. The flames of war raged everywhere. If Mo Chen had not led the Mo clan far away from the center of the chaos, who knew how many people would have died? However, the Mo clan was no longer willing to live the days of hiding. This Heavenly Star Island before them was no longer a place for them. Although the outside of the island was surrounded by several major factions, when the old men arrived on the island, they were shocked. The prosperity of the island far surpassed their imagination. The shattered Cloud City from a long time ago was probably just like this. How exactly did such a city survive under such heavy seals? It was still flourishing and growing with each passing day, which greatly attracted their curiosity. Mo Chen recalled Xiaochen's words. Back then, he said that if she wanted to find him, she could go to Heavenly Star Island. If she needed help, she could go to Heavenly Star Island as well. It's fine. What he said can't be wrong, Mo Chen said, nodding her head gently. As Xiaochen spoke, a man and a woman flew over from the city gates. They were the temporary managers of Heavenly Star Island, Lan Xiaobai and Yu. Lan Xiaobai appeared very elegant as he descended. He had a smile on his face as he walked over to Mo Chen. Then he performed a cupped fist salute and said, Miss Mo Chen, sorry for not going out to meet you. You bring them to the city to rest. I will personally bring Miss Mo Chen around. You nodded with a smile. Then she led the 10 old men behind Mo Chen into the city, leaving Mo Chen alone with Lan Xiaobai. Some questions were best asked when there were fewer people around. Clearly, Lan Xiaobai understood this principle. Miss Mo Chen, what brings you here? Lan Xiaobai asked directly. The two strolled around the city. Mo Chen sized up the people in the city with interest. This was especially so when she discovered many Black Sea cultivators. Now she somewhat understood why this city was so prosperous. After hearing Lan Xiaobai's words, Mo Chen glanced at him and said, I'm here to look for someone. However, since he did not come out, he should not be on the island. Lan Xiaobai smiled bitterly and said, I understand. Right now, all of us old friends are looking for him. However, no one knows where he is. Mo Chen was not in a rush. Instead, she consoled Lan Xiaobai. She smiled and said, Don't worry. He will definitely return to Heavenly Star Island. He will never go back on his word. Lan Xiaobai smiled to himself. The moment Mo Chen said that, his wariness of this girl completely vanished. After some deliberation, he asked, In that case, Miss Mo Chen, what are your plans now? Mo Chen replied calmly, I want to bring all my clansmen and move to Heavenly Star Island. Lan Xiaobai could not help rejoicing in his heart. According to the information he obtained from Kim Tae-ho, the Mo clan that Mo Chen came from was the top refining clan of the Cloud Sea domain. As for Mo Chen, not to mention her cultivation as the blue-robed emperor, her being able to come to Heavenly Star Island would be a great help. More importantly, according to Kim Tae-ho's information, Mo Chen had obtained the Book of Heavenly Works, a divine canon for refining weapons. She was very likely to become a divine refiner. Such a person would line up in the various holy lands and receive them lavishly. It was a great thing for her to come to Heavenly Star Island. Thinking of something, Lan Xiaobai said somewhat embarrassedly, No one in Heavenly Star Island will object to Miss Mo Chen coming. However, The 7 heroes of the dragon have sealed off the path to Heavenly Star Island. It will be difficult for her to bring her entire clan over. Imochen nodded and smiled softly. I already knew about this when I came. It's fine. I believe this situation will not last for long. Lan Xiaobai felt some envy for Xiaochun. He wondered how this fellow managed to do it. First, the descendants of the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea appeared at Heavenly Star Island at the same time, helping Kim Taeho clear the final obstacle to entering the Black Sea. Now there was another Grandmaster-level refiner, bringing her entire clan over. Imochen changed the topic, thinking of something. Young Master Lan, have you heard that the Four Seas Hero Gathering that happens once every 20 years is about to begin? Naturally, I have heard about that. However, Heavenly Star Island is very far from Bright Moon City. Furthermore, the transportation formation on the island is completely destroyed. Furthermore, the 7 heroes of the dragon have blocked off the path ahead. It is very difficult to get out. I am not very clear on the specifics of this. Lan Xiaobai looked at Imochen doubtfully. He did not know why Imochen would ask this. Imochen said in understanding. In that case, it looks like young Master Lan does not know that the most important gift of this Four Seas Hero Gathering is the last mountain tablet of the Dragon's Gate left behind. It is made of heaven-subduing rock, and the words Dragon's Gate were personally written by the Qing Emperor. When Lan Xiaobai heard this, his expression changed. He exclaimed in shock. Are you saying that Xiaoqin will appear at the Bright Moon City Hero Gathering? It is not that he will appear but that he will definitely appear. No matter how strong the rumors are, I firmly believe that he will appear. Furthermore, he will bring the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet back to Heavenly Star Island. Imochen said with absolute certainty, a resolute expression in her eyes. Four Seas Hero Gathering. Lan Xiaobai looked into the distance as he muttered to himself, will he really appear? Honestly speaking, Lan Xiaobai was somewhat doubtful. He was not as resolute as Imochen. The words of the Lunar Palace's holy daughter were sufficient to make those rumors even more confusing. However, Lan Xiaobai was willing to believe that Xiaoqin would definitely appear. He would bring the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet back to Heavenly Star Island, the land that the Blue Dragon King conferred. Xiaoqin would not forget what he promised Lan Xiaobai. One day he would hold the first martial arts gathering and leave a mark on this age of geniuses. In the Zodiac Hall of the Southern Sea, the stars looked like a chessboard, densely packed and crisscrossing in the seawater. If one looked carefully, one would discover that these stars reflected in the seawater were all exquisite palaces. The thousands of palaces shone with starlight. The light from the Sun Palace and the Moon Palace was the most dazzling and dazzling, displaying 2 different styles. One was masculine and tyrannical, giving off a boundless light. It was very dazzling, not daring to look directly at it. The other was soft and lingering, giving off a bright light. It was as cold as snow, bone-chilling. One person flew out from each of the 2 astral palaces. Immediately, the stars dimmed, and the light covered them, only showing off the 2's outstanding looks. As the disciples of the various astral palaces looked at the 2 in the air, intense envy flashed in their eyes. The Moon Palace's Fu Hongyao and the Sun Palace's Chu Yang were now shining with brilliance. They had become the blue-robed emperor at the same time, receiving the personal nurturing of the prime astral emperor. Now that they came out of closed-door cultivation, they had probably broken through to small perfection as the blue-robed emperor. The 2 met in the air. When they saw each other's cultivation, joy flashed in their eyes. Fu Hongyao smiled and said, "Senior brother, you came out of closed-door cultivation as well." Chu Yang nodded and said calmly, "1 year ago, I personally saw that Xiaoqin could not avenge your humiliation. This time, as long as he dares to appear at the Four Seas Hero Gathering, I will personally help you get rid of this tumor." Fu Hongyao thought back to the humiliating scene at the king conferral ceremony. Even now, it was still a heart demon. After thinking about it, Fu Hongyao said calmly, "Senior brother, there is no need to care. I don't believe that a has-been genius will have the courage to appear. The ones that senior brother should care about should be the myriad fiend islands Di Xinhan and Yan Shisan. These 2 should be your greatest opponents." A murderous intent flashed in Chu Yang's eyes. He said indifferently, It is best that they do not appear. Otherwise, I do not mind leaving behind an indelible humiliation in his final moments. How vast was the heavenly starry ocean! Even Emperor Wu could not travel to every corner of it. There were too many desolate sea regions with too many maps that could not be marked. If a person threw himself into this vast sea and really wanted to hide, no one would be able to find him. Unless one used a secret treasure that could peer into the mysteries of heaven, no one would be able to find him. Xiao Chen did not hide, nor did he try to do so. However, others would not be able to find any traces of him. The reason was none other than the fact that he had been at the bottom of the sea for the past 9 months, close to 300 days, not coming ashore even once. Given the blue-robed emperor's strength, Xiao Chen could breathe underwater without any pressure. If time permitted, he could easily stay underwater for even longer. Why not come ashore? No one would like to hide in the darkness, where there was no sunlight, no air, and no signs of human habitation at the bottom of the sea. Naturally, Xiao Chen was no exception. However, he did not have enough time. He had to count every minute and second on his fingers. He could not afford to waste any of it. If he appeared on the surface of the sea once, it would be hard to guarantee that he would not be tempted by the fresh air or the colors of the sun. It would only wear down his fighting spirit and waste time. Since that was the case, there was no need to appear on the surface of the sea. He just had to focus on finding dragons and fixing veins. Somewhere at the bottom of the sea in the Eastern Sea, in a world where there was no daylight, Xiao Chen opened his heavenly eye and walked around with a calm expression. The surrounding terrain turned into many images flashing in Xiao Chen's mind. They were like scenes from a movie, miraculous and profound. This was the ability of the heavenly eye after Xiao Chen cultivated the paradise divine art to the 3rd layer. It could allow him to clearly see everything in his surroundings within a second. Xiao Chen took out the vellum that Jiang Tian gave him and quickly glanced at it before putting it away. Then he fixed his gaze on the hidden dragons in front. That was a place surrounded by many mountain peaks. Xiao Chen carefully looked around and found Tanlang Peak, Jimen Peak, and Wuxia Peak. Chapter 1093. With the 3 auspicious stars present, the Holy Spirit vein in this dragon vein could reach superior grade. However, among the many Holy Spirit veins, it could only be classified as above average. The reason was that although the 3 auspicious stars were present at the same time, they were not of outstanding quality. The greedy wolf peak was flat and pointed, like an unearthed bamboo shoot, sharp on all sides and flat on the top. The greedy wolf peak before Xiao Chen was uneven at the top and not round at the bottom. The only redeeming feature was that it was rather straight, not skewed, like a sharp sword piercing through the water. The other 2 auspicious stars each had their own advantages and disadvantages. There was no need to elaborate on them. With Xiao Chen's current dragon-seeking art, he could find all sorts of stars with just one glance and instantly determine their advantages and disadvantages. After practicing for more than 9 months, Xiao Chen's dragon-seeking art improved rapidly. Compared to when he was at the Northern Sea Alliance, he was already much stronger. When Xiao Chen saw Jiang Tian, he would definitely be shocked and withdraw much of his pride. No matter what, Jiang Tian would never have imagined that Xiao Chen would undergo such an inhumane cultivation, going to the bottom of the sea for 9 months without coming out. Not to mention the vile environment. Just the loneliness and solitude was something that even Jiang Tian might not be able to endure. Aside from the 3 auspicious stars, Xiao Chen also discovered the Army Breaker Peak, an ominous star. The Army Breaker Peak here was both huge and tall. Its aura was much stronger than any of the 3 auspicious stars. However, a lone tree cannot make an army. No matter how strong a lone wolf was, when facing the combined might of the 3 auspicious stars, it would lose. There would not be any mutated evil dragons. It was just that because of this, the hidden dragon grounds became more dangerous, and there were more uncertainties. Xiao Chen closed his heavenly eye, not feeling too worried. In the past 300 days, he had faced several situations that were even more dangerous than this. Xiao Chen's figure flashed and stopped on the greedy wolf peak. After confirming the dragon cave, with a thought, the dragon revealing mirror flew out of his body. Hundreds of formations were embedded on the edges of the ancient bronze mirror. Xiaochen formed hand seals with both hands, and the patterns on the edges spun like gears. The formation hidden within the dragon-revealing mirror began to perform precise and complicated calculations. A moment later, a purple pillar of light shot out from the silence. Opening the acupoint was done in one step. Amid a loud rumble, the surrounding mountains collapsed one by one, and the cracks on the ground expanded rapidly. Not long after, the mountain under Xiaochen's feet collapsed in just a few breaths' time. Xiaochen remained unperturbed. He calmly sank along with the mountain. Rumble! Hundreds of guard mountains in the north flew toward Xiaochen like giant cannonballs amidst the tumbling and chaotic seawater. They carried the power of the blue-robed emperor, which was equivalent to an attack from the blue-robed emperor. Xiaochen moved his right hand behind him, and a long spear appeared in his hand. Xiaochen gripped the spear tightly. Purple thunder fire blazed on the spear's body. Flames were burning in the water. This was a wonderful sight, and it looked extremely strange. A spear burning the heavens! Xiaochen shouted in his heart. He pushed off the water, and took a step forward. Then he thrust his spear forward. The might of Xiaochen's profound martial technique was unleashed without holding anything back. Time seemed to stop for a moment. In the next moment, the seawater flowed backward. 50 kilometers of seawater in all directions surged up in the direction of Xiaochen's spear. The entire stretch of seawater curled up like a piece of cloth. The hundreds of approaching mountains could no longer advance under such might. Looking down from the sky, one would see a 3-kilometer-tall tsunami rising from the surface of the sea without any wind or waves. It looked like the end of the world. As the surging seawater slowly rose, Xiaochen's feet, followed by his torso, and finally his brain. When he looked around, there was a large empty space. This was a rare opportunity. Xiaochen took a deep breath. After a while, he closed his eyes and waited quietly for the seawater to fall. Boom! The seawater suddenly fell. As it rose and fell, it erupted with a huge force, shattering the mountains and boulders in the seawater in an instant. When Xiaochen looked back, he saw that the 8 ferocious beasts in the southern mountains had all leaped out. A smile appeared on Xiaochen's face as he put away his spear, not even bothering to look at it. Then he tossed out the dragon-fixing needles behind him, forming a dragon-sealing formation, and trapping the spirit vein escaping underground. At the same time, Xiaochen's intense battle unfolded. The weapons in his hands quickly changed. Saber, spear, sword, halberd, staff, leg techniques, and fist techniques. He executed 10 different profound martial techniques. Xiaochen moved among the 10 ferocious beasts that were as strong as the small perfection blue-robed emperor. As he fought intensely, he practiced the various profound martial techniques of the changing character formula. After 9 months of cultivation, Xiaochen had clearly improved. Not only could he execute every profound martial technique with familiarity, but he even gained his own comprehension of them. The profound martial techniques that Xiaochen executed were very natural. If not for his appearance, it would be impossible to guess that Xiaochen was a bladesman. For hours later, Xiaochen killed all the ferocious beasts. Then Xiaochen spat out a mouthful of turbid qi. The qi was like a sword piercing 5 kilometers away. This was Xiaochen's advantage. If it were another geomaster, even if they could find spirit veins of various grades, they would not be able to deal with the 10 ferocious beasts alone. However, without Xiaochen's combat prowess, they would not be able to deal with the 10 ferocious beasts alone. It would be impossible for them to subdue the spirit vein alone. With a thought, the dragon-revealing mirror spun again. A red light surging with killing qi shot out from it, and chopped at the spirit vein roaming dragon sealed by the dragon-fixing needles. Miserable cries came from underground. When the cries stopped, Xiaochen withdrew the dragon-revealing mirror into his body. Then he formed hand seals and waved his hand. The ground opened up, and a clump of golden spirit veins origin floated out. In an instant, the seawater turned golden. Before the golden light spread too far, Xiaochen quickly placed it in his universe ring. Ao Jiao, how many is this? 20 already. That was right. Xiaochen had already stored 20 holy spirit veins. 2 months ago, his cultivation had already reached peak small perfection, only a step shy of great perfection. Continuing to consume Holy Spirit veins was no longer of much help to him. He needed stronger spirit veins. Only then would he be able to break through the bottleneck of small perfection blue-robed emperor and reach great perfection blue-robed emperor, successfully forming the dragon-shaped heavenly seal. Xiaochen kept these Holy Spirit veins, not for himself, but for his brothers and friends on Heavenly Star Island. Ao Jiao put away the Holy Spirit veins with a smile. Then she said, "Don't go back on your word. You have to give me half of these Holy Spirit veins. I'll help you mature the spirit trees in the immortal spirit ring. The lunar cassia tree, the dragon mark fruit, the 1,000-year-old snow ginseng, and the netherworld flower have all wasted a lot of time." Xiaochen smiled helplessly and said, "Whatever you say. It's time for us to go out." "Right, it's time to go out. Are you going to retrieve the Dragon's Gates mountain tablet? I have been keeping track of the days for you." Ao Jiao nodded in satisfaction. Plop. Xiaochen pushed off with his feet, and his body moved like a roaming dragon as he leaped out of the sea. The water on his body evaporated, and the blazing sun washed away the mud on him. He looked radiant, like he had been reborn. Xiaochen gave off a sharp light, looking even more dazzling than the sun. After landing firmly on the water, Xiaochen took a long, luxurious breath. This was the first time he felt that just taking a deep breath could make him feel so comfortable. This was the first time he felt that the color of the sun was so enchanting. Xiaochen looked up at the sky and narrowed his eyes. He actually felt somewhat dazed. "Stop looking. Bright Moon City is very far from here. If we don't hurry up, we might be late," Ao Jiao reminded him. Xiaochen withdrew his gaze and smiled faintly. "Right, we do have to hurry up. There cannot be any accidents with the Dragon's Gates mountain tablet." Xiaochen did not care about the other objectives of the Four Seas Hero Gathering. He only cared about one thing, the Dragon's Gates mountain tablet. The Dragon's Gates mountain tablet, which the Qing Emperor personally forged, had to be obtained at all costs. There could be no mistakes. Xiaochen unfurled the freedom wings, and his figure flashed. His magic energy surged as he took a step forward, traveling 50 kilometers. Bright Moon City was the most bustling city in the entire heavenly starry ocean. Bright Moon City welcomed its highest flow of people in 20 years. Everywhere was packed with people. There was an endless stream of carriages, not stopping for a moment. Fortunately, Bright Moon City was normally extraordinarily bustling. Furthermore, it had held many Four Seas hero gatherings, so the Lunar Palace was already experienced. 1 month ago, Bright Moon City raised the threshold for entry. Unless one was a martial monarch, one could not enter the city unless they had an invitation. Only after the gathering ended did the city reopen to the public. Aside from this, there were many other eye-catching measures. Floating palaces floated in the sky of the vast and majestic city for people to stay in, alleviating the pressure of the crowd. The venue of the Four Seas Hero Gathering was Bright Moon Plaza in the city. Before the start of the Grand Assembly, there were countless arenas in Bright Moon Plaza. Every day, there would be cultivators sparring on them. This was a rare opportunity for all the young heroes of the Four Seas to gather in one place. Naturally, after they met, they would compete with each other. Exciting fights were always what the spectators loved to watch. Sometimes, famous cultivators would appear and compete with each other. This made people scream in excitement. Aside from the free arenas, the Lunar Palace's people specially set up several arenas to liven things up. For example, in some special arenas in the air, there would be a reward for how many rounds one could last without losing. Another example was the Lunar Palace's young cultivators defending the arenas. As long as they defeated their opponents, they would receive a reward. Even if they failed, they would not suffer any losses. The atmosphere of fighting in the entire city was very intense. However, with the Bright Moon Palace's strict management, everything was very orderly. There was no chaos at all. 7 days later, Xiaochen traveled quickly. Relying on the freedom wings' so close yet worlds apart magic skill, he arrived outside Bright Moon City before the gathering started. Originally, Xiaochen was somewhat worried that someone would recognize him and attract some trouble. However, he soon realized that no one was paying attention to him amidst the crowd and the bustling scene. Even if there were not 10,000 people dressed in white like Xiao Chun, there were at least 8,000 of them. This was simply too ordinary. Furthermore, the focus of the cultivator's discussion was on the holy science of the immortal Holy Lands. After walking for so long, no one had mentioned Xiao Chun. You're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.